talk a lot, so that's what happens. We are live. Okay, cool.
Hello, internet.
Yeah, awesome, man. So I just want to introduce the people who I'm talking to. This is my friend Christian. We just met not too long ago. He reached out to me by email and had a great video idea of doing a collab together. So we're gonna do that here live, and yeah, it's gonna be good, man. Hey, so Christian, tell the people like a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm a digital nomad. I mostly do development, but I'm also a judoka. And something that's interesting to me is, I move around a lot, right? I'm traveling, and one of the benefits of martial arts is you have community, right? It's kind of like you can go anywhere in the world and you sort of have like friends built in. But for some martial arts, that's truer than others. Like in the case of judo, I think there's definitely a pretty strong community. Some other martial arts are like that too, like kendo. And that's what I do. I program, try to make money. I like to travel. I do martial arts. I'm not nearly as good as Mr. OG Fitness over here, probably. He's a little more dedicated than me, but that's me.
Yeah, well, like you don't have to be as, and that's the thing, right? I think that with martial arts, like you could be somebody that practices for just for health, for fitness, just as a hobby. Like it doesn't matter. It still has like a lot of benefits, right? I'm just like obsessed about it, but I mean that's just me, and that's all I want to do. But I mean, there's something in it for everybody. Whether you like to compete, whether you're doing it, you plan to go professional, where you just want, or if you want to be just like a high level amateur, like that's what I want to be, or you just want to learn cool stuff.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in the case of judo, right? I think it was kind of designed by Kano from the beginning to be something about educating, like basically normal people, to be something they can use in their normal lives, rather than be something like that was specifically for martial artists per se, right? Because it was heavily intended to be like integrating with like pedagogy. He was kind of like a PE teacher for a lot of his career, basically, right? Like he was teaching people and stuff like that. So I think judo is a great martial art for people who are just wanting something that makes you strong. I like the intensity of judo for that, because I'm too lazy to go to the gym a lot.
Yeah, you could get a really good workout like in judo. Yeah, judo does require a lot of strength, flexibility, footwork, timing, and what else does it require? Yeah, pretty much. It could be a pretty complete physical education type of thing, right? Like, yeah, I don't know, lost my train of thought there. But hey, let me just say hi to Saad a second here. Saad's always, hey, Saad, what's up, buddy? Yeah, Saad's always here. I don't think Saad is his real name. It's just he's from Saudi Arabia, but he writes Saad. But he's always on these podcasts. I missed last week, guys. By the way, I missed last week because what happened was it was the last kata class for judo, because I'm learning the Nagino kata for my black belt exam. So it was an 8-week program, 8-week course, and 2 times a week. So then it was the last course, and then after that we spent some time. We had dinner with the senseis and everyone who was there to practice, and that's why I didn't make it last week, but no big deal. All right, let's hide this. Yep. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do today, guys, is we're going to look at some martial arts, and we're going to rank them in order of. Christian, help me out here.
Basically, how good is it for making friends? Like, is a way you could think of it, or for I don't know how to put it. If you're lonely, that sounds weird, but for community and just for friendship in general, like, yeah, that's exactly how I'd say it. I think most martial arts, are pretty decent for that, to be honest. It's generally something that most martial arts are good at, but some are a little like better than others. Like to give you an example, I think if you're a much older guy, right, and you're like, I want to do wrestling, like it might not be the best for community for that person, because like who mostly does wrestling?
Kids.
Yeah, exactly. It's mostly going to be people who are in school. To even find it outside of a school means it's generally part of some like MMA gym or something like that, right? Like it's mostly overwhelmingly like teenagers. So it's not necessarily the best, especially like in my case, if you're out there traveling, right? You want to have something that's like an international community where, everywhere you go in the world, they're going to have different styles. So maybe you do like Olympic wrestling, but then that's all going to, like, you know what I mean? It's not ideal. for that purpose. Has other benefits for sure. You know, it's great for MMA, great for self-defense, but probably not the best one for like having a kind of stable community that you can have. Whereas on the other hand, BJJ, I think that's what gets a lot of people hooked, is that they make such good friends there, you know, that it kind of takes over their social life, you know, and now they're like, it's like it's almost like a divorce if they were to stop training, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I felt that way about BJJ when I started. Right now I'm 43, but I started BJJ at 30, and all my friends were from BJJ. And even till this day, like all my friends are guys that I train with. And then the ones that don't train, that don't train with me at that club, then those friends were friends I used to train with in BJJ. So if you guys are lonely and have no friends and want to make friends, BJJ is definitely conducive to that, I feel, right? But before we get into that, I think that we should list the martial arts that we're going to be talking about, because we're doing a tier list type of thing, right? So the tier list thing, are we looking at, I got my screen here, like how many martial arts are we going to look at? Because I looked at the tier, what do you call it?
The template?
The template. There you go. So you got like S, A, B, C, D, F. Are we following that, or we're just gonna number things up?
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, you can have multiple in the same tier, right? So so it's scalable. Oh,
you could have two martial arts in the same tier?
Yeah, like you could have like
kind of like two bronze medal guys like on the podium.
Yeah, because the idea is for like F, right? Like you might have a bunch of martial arts that are just complete trash in all regards, and you're like, they're all F. They're all just going to be shoved down there in F. Or maybe like you have some and they're like absolutely perfect, so they're both in S tier. You know, they're both perfect for whatever that purpose is. You know.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so let's. What I'm thinking is I did get a chance to think a little bit before.
That's good.
Before getting on this podcast, so I'm thinking we list out the martial arts that first, right?
Yeah.
And after that, we go through the criterias, and after that, we start like ranking them. You know, and I got a paper and pen here, and
good. Okay, it's good.
Yeah, look, I even got the long legal paper, you know, like the long one, right? So we're gonna.
On that crumpling noise, that also gives the video like an ASMR component too. So.
What's the ASMR?
Oh, you never heard of ASMR?
ASMR? Nope.
Okay. Don't even look it up. You're not missing out. It was a trend from years ago where they would have lots of videos of like weird sounds or like crumpling paper, like eating celery. I'm not weird. Trust me. It was very mainstream. I'm not into this. I'm just saying it was a lot of videos. And I guess it's supposed to like, if you know that like tingly sensation you ever get on like the top of your head if you listen to a weird noise or certain type of music or something.
Well, I mean, I felt tingling in my head. I forgot like what instances, but okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's just an internet thing. It's the point is crinkling the paper is going to be great. It's going to make us go viral.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, as long as it's
okay. So should I list them off, or do you want to? Shall I list off the martial arts?
Yeah. Shoot.
Okay. So first I have Kendo. Okay, which I know is kind of an obscure one. I'm only including it because it has. Well, we'll discuss it when we get to Kendo. BJJ, MMA, Aikido, boxing, and Judo, which obviously we're both super biased towards. So we'll have to be extra objective.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're gonna try and be as objective as humanly possible. But of course, I mean that's not going to be 100% because we all have biases and all. But you know, I do like me personally. I do practice a lot of combat sports now. So I've done Kendo actually.
Cool.
A long time, but I bought like the suit, the bamboo, you know, like the sword, the bamboo sword, the wooden sword, and I even took a couple of classes, and then I went to 2 different places. It's just that I ran out of time. I had to go back to judo. I was doing it while I was injured actually at that time. So I've done Kendo, BJJ, MMA, Aikido, boxing. I actually except Aikido. Aikido is the only thing that I've never done. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 6, right? Okay.
Yep.
Any other martial arts? Like you?
Maybe at the end we can make like a shout out to like Taekwondo and karate, which I'm sure the practitioners of will be super insulted that I'm lumping them together. But I feel like demographically they occupy a very similar space. Like I'm not saying they're the same or that they're very even necessarily very similar. I'm just saying the people who tend to be doing one a lot are also, you know what I mean? And in terms of like the quality control across the board, like if you're like, oh, I want karate for community, it's not like you're going to be able to go from like, you're in Canada, right?
Yeah, Canada.
Yeah, there you go. If you're in Canada, Alberta or wherever you're at, I don't know, and you go all the way to like, I don't know, Russia, and you just find a place that says karate on it, like, are those going to have anything to do with each other? So I just feel like those ones are hard to evaluate with it, unless you're looking at like some super specific lineage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense because like there's different forms of karate, and then people, it changes, right? Like it changes probably quite a bit from style to style, from country to country, even within the same style. Like, and I don't think they have like an organization that regulates everything. Like in judo, you have IJF, and then you have some other organizations, but IJF is the main one. That's the one for like the Olympics and all that. So,
I mean, Taekwondo has that. Taekwondo has that.
Yeah, Taekwondo has
the World Taekwondo Federation. And they have like the ITF, which is also good. Some people say it's better, but I don't know anything about that.
Okay, what about karate? Karate, they have federations, don't they?
I have no idea, but maybe we could just give them a shout out afterwards or something, of pros.
Yeah. We'll leave them in shout out realm. which I've done Taekwondo before. Like I actually enjoy Taekwondo. Karate I never tried because it just looked. I did Kung Fu instead. Oh, what about Kung Fu? Yeah, we should like maybe talk about Kung Fu.
F tier
section.
Instantly F tier. Well, okay. There's one defense of of Kung Fu you could give is that I think a lot of people doing with maybe, I don't know. Actually, you know what? It's hard to say. Because I was going to say some things like sport wushu and stuff. I think people who go there go with the mentality of like, yeah, this isn't a self-defense thing. This is for fun and fitness. And so when you go to those places, you have a lot of cool people who just, they know what they're getting into. They're doing it because it's fun and cool. And so it's kind of a good mentality in some of those places. But then with Wing Chun, I think you have a lot of places where they really think like, yeah, this is the ultimate martial art, and I'm, and that, I don't know. I wouldn't like that. I'd rather go to a place that know it's doing something fun and I don't know.
Yeah, and then listen, this is how we do things here, but don't think that you could fight because you're gonna get your butt kicked,
Yeah, absolutely. Like, well, I mean, kendo, right? There's no pretension among kendo practitioners that they're gonna go out with their cane and then like be beating someone with it. No, it's just something that you're doing because you like doing it for the most part.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing. It's something of the past, and I mean, it is. I mean, because then after kendo, there's people who practice yaido. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not sure.
I think so.
Yeah, and yaido is the art of like of the sword, right? Of like basically pulling out the sword.
Yeah,
once you pull out the sword, but there's a whole like thing behind it.
Using an actual blade and everything. And they use live blades in Yaido as well.
Yeah, well, maybe not like start off there, but it's a real blade, and they'll get blades that are dull, that are not sharpened, right? To start off with, but I mean, it's how to handle your blade, how to put it back in the sheath, how to pull it out correctly, and there's a whole like there's a whole art to it, because when you practice with a bamboo stick or the bokken, like the just big wooden stick, it's different, right? Because you don't have to be as careful because it's not as pointy and not sharp, so it's less dangerous. But then you do yaido, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Let me just look it up a second, because I feel like some martial arts I'm open to disrespecting in public, and be just like bastardize the whole thing and just whatever, who cares, the dorks with the but like for the Japanese stuff, I tend to have a little bit more respect.
Yeah, well, they take like, I think that the whole like kendo culture and yaido culture is also very respectful in general. So
yeah, and because it's deep, like and one thing that actually taught me, that made me respect even more like the Japanese arts, like Iaido and Kendo and all that, is because I've been doing I've been practicing the Nagi no kata for for the competition for my black belt, because I am doing a kata competition, and then after that I have my black belt exam like sometime in December. And what I've learned is that actually the kata itself, the Nagi no kata, right? It's actually to perfect your technique, to perfect it's highly specialized. It's really to perfect your basics. Am I using the right word? Perfecting basics? Yeah. So, and it's really deep. But the problem is that in Japan, it's not that it's a problem, but here in Canada, they ask you for it for your black belt. So it feels as though like black belt is kind of like a destination. But whereas in Japan, it's actually no. You don't need to learn the kata over there to get the black belt. All you need to do is you just need to show like you need to know the basics. You need to know how to fight and accumulate a certain amount of points. And after that, you do a weekend and they show you the kata and you get your black belt. That's how easy it is. Whereas here they make it like a big deal. Like you also have that here for what do you call it, for competitors and all, but I think that in Japan, like even for adults, it's the same thing. You don't need to you could accumulate points by just through shiai, through randoris, or through doing stuff, and then after that you don't need to learn the kata, whereas here you have to. But anyways, all that to say that the kata itself, it's really about perfecting your fundamentals, and it goes deep. And then I was explaining that in judo, there's actually 5 katas, right? There's 5 major katas, and one guy that I met, he actually specializes in one of them, like the one that does newaza on the ground. And he was saying he was taught by another sensei, explaining to him that if you guys only understood how much blood had to be spilt for the Japanese to distill this whole thing into 5 katas, like your mind would explode, and you'd have so much more respect and even more motivation to actually go learn the katas, because everything they do is for a reason. It's not just for fun that you have to look this way, look that way, put your hand like this, step in a certain manner, and body positioning and all that. Like they really do. They really went all out with it, like the Japanese. It's one of those things that. Anyways, all that to say that. Okay, so I looked it up. Iaido. Iaido.
Yeah. Then you were saying it right? That's pretty much how you were saying it.
Yeah. All that fuss for nothing. Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay, so
very authentic pronunciation there.
So we got our 6 martial arts. We got Kendo, BJJ, MMA, Aikido, boxing, Judo, and then we're gonna shout out some of the other the other stuff like Taekwondo, Karate, Kung Fu, Wing Chun. Should we even separate it into like combat sports versus and traditional martial arts, or nah?
Well, I think like almost everything I have on here. The only thing I have on this list that isn't a combat. And I mean, even then you have Tomiki Aikido, right? So, well, everything on the list actually is a combat. Like I have Judo, that's a combat sport, boxing, combat sport, MMA, BJJ, Kendo, all combat sports. So the only one on the list that isn't a combat sport is Aikido.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, we're essentially making fun of like traditional martial arts. TM. No, we're not. Okay, got it. All right, so let's get into the criteria.
Right. Okay. So here are the criteria that we have. Let's see. Is it popular and widespread? Right? Because you can't make friends if it doesn't exist anywhere near you. Like that's instantly just a no-go. Okay. Age diversity. Are there lots of kids, lots of adults? Is there a mixture of both? I mean, depending on your demographics, like lots of kids might be a good thing or lots of adults might be a good thing. So newbie friendly. So some arts can be very prejudiced towards higher belts, so it's hard to just join a new gym and just fit in, or if you're new, might be like, oh yeah, you'll make a ton of friends in like years from now, And finally, just friendly culture. Like, do people tend to hang out? Do they tend to socialize outside of training? Like, is it normal for people to make friends? Or is it kind of like, yeah, we go there, train, and then we're just like acquaintances while training, and then we don't know no one knows each other outside of training?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we got 4 criterias, and we got 6 martial arts that we're gonna look at. So which one you want to start with? You want to start with kendo?
Yeah. Okay. So you've done kendo. That's good. So I don't know what your kendo experience was like, but in my experience of kendo, it was an extremely social culture. Like, people tended to be very social. It tended to be very much like about community.
Mm-hmm.
I would put kendo up there pretty high. Like, maybe the uselessness of it as a martial art is what motivates people to emphasize the social aspect. I don't know, but I found that kendo had a great community, and the things that can be negative, even some places that are great for making friends, have certain negatives. Like, sometimes you have meatheads, or sometimes you have the opposite, where it's like it's super nerdy, but almost to like the point of like, this is getting, like, it gets stupid, right? Like exoticized martial arts, like, this is the ancient secret of our chi, and that. It's like, okay, it goes the other direction. And in my kendo experience, it had none of those problems. Like, it was all super cool people. So I'm very biased towards kendo. But what would you say? Like, also complete diversity of age. There were kids, teenagers, young adults, older people, like everybody where I went. Anyway, I was in Mexico.
Okay. So you practice kendo in Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So me, I practiced it in it was a private class given by this one teacher, and we were like, I think we're about 3-4 people, wasn't much, and then so that's where I started, and he was a really good teacher, so it was cool, but there wasn't a lot of people, and then he started then he started charging for it, which is fine, but I felt it was a little bit it was a little bit overpriced for especially because I couldn't go to all the classes, so for me, I was like, okay, well, no problem. And I asked him if there was something I could do about that. He told me no. You just like, you pay this much per month, and whether you come or not, that's your problem. And when he kind of said that, I was like, okay, cool, not very understanding. And this is a guy who's trying to start his own thing on the side, teach kendo because he loved it. So I'm like, okay. So then I shopped around, and there was a kendo school, and so I went to that, and there was a lot of people, and it was divided into, when you go into the class, it was in the gymnasium, and you had the section where the people who were a little bit more advanced, because they already had their gear on and everything, and they were actually doing a lot of drills, like 2 people drill kind of thing. And then there was like the people who just started, who didn't have any gear yet, only maybe had their what do you call it, the bamboo stick, bamboo sword, sorry. And and I only did that for about a month, so I don't have that much experience, but I feel as though I could see that. I could see like the social aspect of it, right? It's a kind of an investment, right? Like, if you go into that sport, you have to buy the uniform. So you have to buy like the gi top, and then the thing that looks like a dress. What do you call it?
I forget the name of the outfit. The stick is called a shinai.
Yeah.
But I forget the name of the outfit. Like the little armor, like the armor thing you wear for kendo.
Yeah, right. And then like the armor thing and stuff like that. I mean, that in itself, it's expensive. You got to buy like the gloves. The gloves are important because they're smacking your hands all the time. So you want to get your hands, and then if you want to get the helmet, and then the full gear, and blah 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 blah. So I mean, it can go up there, right? Price wise. So if you invest that much money into it, and then there's a whole bunch of other people investing all that, it's kind of like it becomes like I wouldn't say elite club, but it does kind of bring you together.
Yeah, and there is that element, I think, of like a filter too, is that people who aren't committed to it, like, it's not something I think that people tend to do. Well, people do it casually, but what I want to say is like, it tends to be something that people who aren't going to be super into it tend to kind of filter out, right? So the people who are left are people who are like kendo is like, yes, because if you're not going to commit to it, like, it just ends up not being worth it.
Okay. Okay. So
And maybe there's a weakness to that too, like that it's not accessible necessarily. It's not the most accessible thing because even to start having fun doing kendo, it takes enough time of like where they put you through really boring basics to where you get like it's a long time till you get to do fun stuff.
yeah, I can see that definitely because they have to. Some people will pick it up faster than others, but I mean, there's footwork involved. Like you got to hold the sword this way. You got to learn how to snap it. You have to, so
Yeah.
yeah. I think that it's like anything. It takes a little bit of time before it becomes really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So you already have to kind of be interested in enough in it to actually go through that little process of where you suck basically, and
Yeah.
it's as fun as it could be. Okay, so the first criteria, let's see here.
Yeah. Let's check it out. Okay. So
Okay.
is it popular and widespread? I would say not really. It's in every major city, right? So like if you were traveling if you were traveling and or if you live in a big metropolitan area, then it'll be there. But I mean, comparatively speaking, like no, pretty much.
Yeah, like I'm gonna type this in quick here. Let's see now. It's Kendo? Yeah, Kendo. How many countries practice? Because I know judo, it's like 172 countries, right? It's like a whole planet. So when we get to judo, it's gonna be interesting. Okay, it's telling me 14 million people worldwide are kendokas, but it doesn't tell me how many.
Because like Mexico City is one of the most populous cities in the world, right? And there was like 7 people, and they only had like the one kendo thing. So I don't know. I don't know if there's really that many, but I think it's super popular in Japan. Because I think if you take it in Japan, you have to take like for high school. I don't really know the whole thing on this, so someone in Japan like totally can just school me on this. But I think you have to take one sport and one cultural class, but kendo counts for both. So it's a super popular choice for students in Japan or something like that. Like, but it's very popular for students in Japan. So maybe that like inflates its numbers.
Oh,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So let's say if we were to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Popular, popular and widespread.
Like 3? I'll probably say like 3.
Okay, 3 on 10. Okay, got it. 3 on 10. Okay, so now let's go to the other criterias.
Let's see what else we got. Age diversity. Kids, adults, mixture of both. Great. I mean, I think it tends to have a solid mixture of pretty much every age group. I mean, the only issue is if there's not a lot of people to begin with, then that limits like, how many different ages are going to be there, right? Because there's not that many people to begin with. But when I've seen, there tends to be all over the map for ages.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I can see how that could be because you don't have to be, super flexible, super strong, super, super athletic or anything like that to do kendo. And so I can see like people across the board practicing it. I can see old people, I can see people younger, I can see kids, I can see whatever, And yeah. So I think that age, in terms of age diversity, and like you said, there is like a exercise and cultural component to it, which is pretty interesting too. So I would give it a on 10. And I remember when I went to that kendo school here, like there's only one, and it's the biggest. Not that there's only one, but it's the biggest one. And I think I saw quite a bit of diversity. I didn't see kids, but I saw a lot of adults, different ages. Like older adults, younger adults, students. So I would say, I don't know, 8. Would 8?
Yeah, it's fair.
8 is fair, yeah. Okay. All right, 8 on 10. Got it. Okay, so let's go on to the next criteria. So we already got the widespread thing, the age thing.
Now we're newbie friendly.
Newbie friendly. Okay, so when you say newbie friendly, we're talking about, are they welcoming to new people? Is that it?
That's part of it, but also like in terms of the culture. So like, let's say you went to a new gym, and I mean, this doesn't apply to kendo because they don't have belts, but let's say it's like judo or BJJ, and you're a black belt. Okay. And now let's say you went to that same place, but you were a white belt. Like, how would that affect the way that you're received, if at all? You know, like, let's say you're highly experienced versus you're just starting. You know, you have some places that might be like, oh, you're just starting. We like that because we want people to be interested in this. Like, awesome, that's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Or you know, might be a McDojo and they love that you're new because they're going to make money off of you for whatever reason, right? They're newbie friendly. And you might have other places that are hostile to that, right? It's almost like hazing. You know, like, oh, you're new, you're still subhuman until you're, you know, whatever belt, you're like, you don't even exist. Okay. I would say the two extremes, right? You have different ways they could be newbie friendly. Like I said, some places are super newbie friendly because in a negative way, right? Like, oh yeah, we want you to come and feel like super like, oh, we love you because, you know, we want to make money off you. One thing I like about here in Guatemala with their judo is that since it's funded by the government, the instructors aren't like, they're not in it for money at all. So they're super harsh, which, I mean, it might seem negative, but I love it, you know? Like, they're yelling at me, they're calling me all kinds of names, like, get up, why are you doing, like, go, and it's like, go, you know? And I feel like a place that's financial driven can't always be that way, you know, because they'll scare you away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're saying for what sport? Like what?
What's that?
For what martial art you're talking about? Like that in Mexico City, it's fun. Oh, you said it's funded in Guatemala or in Mexico?
I'm in Guatemala right now, and I'm doing judo here, and it's funded by the government, right? So like, it's mostly like working class people, mostly young people, but some adults, and it's not financial driven at all, which changes the culture because they're not worried about like, yeah, you know what, if you're not trying and you're not doing anything, like, why are you here? You know? Whereas I feel like in a place that's making money, they always have to be like, hey, you know, like, believe in yourself. I mean, it's positive too. It's all good. I'm just saying that I like the harshness of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like in the same way, like high school sports, right? High school sports are harsh because they're not there trying to like get you to join some program that costs $700. They want you to go and be good, you know? So they tend to be a little more like, I don't know, issue a little harder, you know?
Yeah, but sometimes that can have like it could be bad in the sense that like because like they're not what do you call it? They're not motivated by money all that much. It's not about money to them. But then sometimes it makes certain people, like, depends on the coach and the instructor, but sometimes it lets them be not as not as focused on teaching correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if somebody's paying you, you want them, if you're a good coach, you want them to get better, but the way you bring something about is important as well, because you want to keep them, but you want to explain to them things properly so that you get them interested and you actually get them results. Whereas you're by the state, like, dude, it's this way or the highway, stop sucking, and they're hard on you, but it's maybe not because it's not because it's it's not that they care about performance necessarily. It could be just that they don't have to make the effort as much to keep you, so they don't really. They're kind of savage. A little bit too savage.
Yeah, whatever. Just get out then. You know, like, you don't like it, just go. Like, that's what I said. So it's not necessarily good one way or the other, but newbie friendliness could mean a lot of things. You know what I mean? So one advantage even of places that are like I think in judo, it's often looked down as like, oh, like making a bunch of money off of it. I don't like that it's like that. I think judo people should be making money, you know, with dojos. But we're kind of a very like amateur teacher culture. So we tend to look down on that. But absolutely, places that are making money, one thing that's nice is maybe if you're someone who's not interested in competition, you know, a lot of places that aren't making money, they want to go and win, right? They want to get medals. They want to do the stuff. They ignore you, you know, because you're not going to win anything and you're not paying anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
So in the case of, so this is newbie friendly with regards to kendo, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's go back to kendo for a second. Okay, so newbie friendly for kendo. What do you think? Like,
it sucks because I mean, it's culturally very newbie friendly. I think like people tend to be nice to newbies and like be like, yeah, oh, you're a friend, everyone's friends, you know. But the actual martial art sucks for newbies. in the same way that judo, like I think sucks when you're new because you're just learning. You're like falling, you know. Like, okay, then now let's learn to fall forward. Okay, well, you sucked at that. Don't even fall forward from standing up. Just fall forward, starting on your knees. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of boring, right? Whereas, I don't know, maybe in wrestling, for example, at least you kind of get to start wrestling a little bit and learning like something. I don't know. Kendo is like the worst about that, and I think they even kind of pride themselves on it. Like, yeah, you're just gonna learn like men, that head strike, men. Just practice that for months, until you have like the perfect, flawless forward head strike.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and once you're doing that for 5 months, you're gonna do wrist. I forget what the name of it is, and like I think they pride themselves on like this technical discipline
Mm-hmm.
that is admirable and beautiful, but
Mm-hmm.
is also, I think, can be very boring. Because what you want to eventually, like the fun of it is you want to hit people with your shinai, right? Like you want to bop people on the head.
Yeah. Of course, that's the whole thing you want to get to.
So, and they do that, and I think it improves some things because it makes it so that people who stick around to the bopping on the head part are like disciplined, focused people. So it probably improves kendo in the long run.
Uh-huh.
But for newbies, it sucks.
Yeah, but it kills the popularity too. Because the thing is, if you want a martial art to be popular and widespread, and that in itself is going to increase the level increase the level of skill in that martial art. Because the more people you have practice it, well, guess what? There's going to be a lot of things going on, and then people are just going to get better and better. And out of all that, there's going to be a bigger pool of athletes to choose from, and who are going to like rise to the top, so to speak, right? But if you only got like 100 people, what are you going to do with that? Like out of those 100, like maybe there's maybe 10 of them or 20 of them that will actually practice it for 10 years. Out of those 20, maybe you got like 10% that are actually good. And then out of those 10, you might have 1 or 2 that are going to be like masters, so to speak, right? So then
Right.
you're kind of destroying the sport when you approach it that way. When you make it too hard to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You end up with a tiny talent pool. But I think that they're kind of okay with that because like something I heard, like a kendo person basically was talking crap about judo unintentionally.
Uh-huh.
Because what they said was they were talking about like the idea of kendo in the Olympics, right? And they were like, kendo people are super adverse to that idea because they're like, look at what happened to judo. And I was like, oh man, whoa. Like that's unnecessary. But I think they're afraid of what popularity would do. Like they were intimidated by the idea of like you almost can get taken over by popularity and they could lose control of their own martial art, if that makes sense, or of their own sport.
Yeah, but like there's pros and cons to that. Like I imagine, what's going to happen is that people are going to be highly specialized, and then a lot more people are going to practice it. You're going to have government funding in different countries. If it's an Olympic sport, people are going to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's going to be more people from more countries practicing the sport, so there'll be more eyeballs on it. It'll bring it up, but then it's going to become hyper specialized because they're going to make the rule set so that it's actually entertaining to watch.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with like kendo's culture is that I think there's a hostility to the idea of people doing things that are good ideas to win, but are like bad kendo. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's even a lot of debates about like the idea of being defensive in kendo, right? Like you can be more defensive and maybe win a certain way. And they're like, no, it'd be better to like go for an attack and lose, but be like balls to the wall, cool. So I think they were worried about losing like we already have a tradition. This is what we want kendo to be. And, but the point is, I think that because of that mentality, it makes them less newbie friendly.
Okay, so
they probably do hurt like the people could be better kendoka because they'd have a better talent pool, but I think they just don't care, and then that makes it less newbie friendly.
Got it. But one day I do plan on taking up kendo again because I want to have a reason to buy that armor and have it like displayed in the background instead of this library thing. I could have my kendo suit. I don't want
decoration.
Huh?
It's a good decoration.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It looks like freaking samurai suit, right? And see, I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior class. It looks so cool, and that's like, and also I find that Japanese swords fighting actually makes sense uh, compared to
Like Western fencing?
no. I think Western fencing probably that too. I mean, it was, but I find a lot of some of the crazy acrobatic Chinese martial arts like wushu,
Mm.
I find those a lot less believable,
Hmm.
than what the Japanese develop, Japanese sword fighting. I find that's more like it's actually how um, it resembles reality a lot more. I was having a discussion with Rob Nolan from Combat Self Defense about 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about that. And we're like, man, we are talking about like Kali stick fighting, and he was explaining how no man, like like those things are just drills. Like when you see those guys like going back and forth doing 1,000 hit combos with their sticks and all that, that's just a drill. It's not actually what it's gonna look like in real life. Because in real life, okay, stick fighting, you might be able to get away with a couple of hits, but it's not gonna look like that at all. Not like nothing like that. And knife fighting is even worse. Like because in Cali, they have knife fighting, and then when you see them practice their drills and all that, it looks like they're doing. It looks really fancy, But Rob was explaining like, no, actually, it's not going to be that way. Like,
Yeah.
no knife fight looks like that. Whereas when you look
Yeah,
at Japanese sword fighting, it's very like, it's very
really, really simple, direct movements.
yeah. And then there's positioning, there's timing, and everything you do is for a reason. So I find that would actually be something I'd want to study because it would be not that it would be useful, but I mean, it's kind of cool,
Yeah.
to be able to understand like sword fighting. And
Yeah, I totally get it. Like the idea of like for what sword fighting is, this is what
Mhm.
sword fighting would be about, right? As opposed to something that just feels like a complete like fantasy.
Yeah. Or like when you see like guys like medieval guys, they have like the they wear armor and they just bash each other's heads in with broadswords and all that. And you're like, okay, dude, like it's like they're playing checkers while the Japanese were playing chess.
Yeah,
That's what it feels like to me, right?
totally get it.
So, anyways, all that to say that I definitely plan on like practicing it because I want to buy that armor and suit up, look cool, make videos about it. So new on newbie friendly on a scale of 10, you think like 2, 3?
I would put it a little higher because culturally they're very newbie, like they're nice to newbies, and if rating it low makes it sound like they're assholes to newbies, which is they're not.
Okay.
Maybe like 5. What do you think? Like maybe mid-level.
Yeah, because I think they're probably like when you come in, hi, I love you, come
They are
on, family, and then after that, okay,
Yeah.
keep you there for 5 months. Got it. So let's call it 5. Yeah. Okay, 5. All right. So that three criteria. What's the other one there? Friendly
Let's see.
culture.
Yeah, just general friendliness of the culture. Like are people like I would say BJJ, for example, people tend to be nice and friendly, just like generally speaking. It tends to be like that's the way you should be. That's the culture.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not sure about that. Like, what do you think?
I would say it's decent. It's not like I had a really good experience. I would say it's pretty good, but it'll vary a lot because it'll depend on the specific like sensei of where you're at. I think the culture in kendo is often very reflective of the specific person who's running the class.
Okay, so if the coach is like, let's go have a beer afterwards, everyone's grabbing a beer. But if the it's like, see you next week. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, or you might have a place, you might have someone that's very like, yeah, this is all about competition. We're here because we want to win competitions, and then it'll be okay probably. So that's the only downside is that I think it does have a good community and a good sense of like you can go anywhere as a kendoka and have like kind of like friends. If you go to a major city, people are like, oh yeah, kendo, like you're a kendo guy, I'm a kendo guy, we're friends. But
okay,
you're going to go to a dojo or sorry, not dojo, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to go to study kendo and just have like a great friendly,
Mm-hmm.
you could definitely go somewhere and not make any friends. It's totally realistic,
Yeah, this is all, guys. This is all assuming that you're somewhat like normal, because obviously there'll be people who are like super sociable, and then anywhere they go, they're gonna make friends. And then you
Mhm.
have like the other end of the spectrum where like people were very have a really hard time with that. So then wherever they go, even if it's just harder for them to make friends, right? Even if the setting is appropriate, but they're just not there yet, Okay, so
Very good point.
well, in that case, that's hard because me, I never made any friends there. I went there, I tried it out a couple of times, did a couple of classes, it was cool, but I never really hung out with anyone. So I feel as though my opinion here wouldn't actually be very factual or even close, or
Well, if you didn't make friends, that counts though, right? If you went and you didn't find it to be a super like, oh, we're all friends thing, then that counts. That should rate it a little lower.
Yeah, you're right about that.
I would say maybe 5. Like it can be really high, but it kind of is like the luck of the draw.
It can be. So if it can go either way, like 5 would actually be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to average this out so that we have a number for kendo, an official number. With my calculator. 3 plus 8 plus 10. Okay. So I would add up and then divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4. Divided by 4, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so that's what I did. I added up like 3 plus 8 plus 5 plus 5. That gave me 21 divided by 4. So that would give us 5.25.
Okay, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I feel as though you're disappointed in regards to that because you were expecting it to be like, it's going to be pretty good.
Well, so in terms of being in a specific letter, right? Because the tier template goes by letter. What letter do you feel like it deserves? That would be like a C, right?
Man, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we got 6, right? So yeah, it would be if 5.25 would be like right in the middle, man. So would that make sense?
I think it deserves. What do you think? I think it deserves B.
B, you think?
Because if there's 6 categories it can be in, then it's either going to be in the third right here or the third up here, right? Because there's no actual middle category then, right?
Yeah, it would be between like B and C. Okay. So let's put it B for now.
I think it deserves B.
Okay. So I'll put kendo B for now, right? Okay, now let's go through the next one on the list.
BJJ.
And BJJ doesn't mean basically just judo. It means Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for
So for anyone who's not familiar, it's just a newaza. It's basically just judo. No, just judo newaza. Something about leg locks. I don't know. I think you have more. You probably have more experience with BJJ than I do. So if you want to.
Okay. Yeah. I did BJJ for 6 years, and then I transitioned over to judo. So I've been doing judo for 7 years. But judo actually, like BJJ, actually comes from judo. And in judo, like they have ground game. It's called newaza, and newaza. I mean, like there was nothing really new that BJJ invented. Like really nothing. Even the leg locks and all that, like they were all in the curriculum. They were all part of like judo. You just have to dig far enough. And
Right, but that's the virtue of them because a lot of techniques that maybe would be lost to judo because we're not practicing them in an alive way are kind of being kept alive thanks to BJJ.
Kind of, yeah, because the only guys who would actually, the only fools that would actually know of these like ancient techniques and all that, like not ancient techniques, but these leg locks and these heel hooks and all this stuff, and even I think even De La Hiva and all that, like those things actually existed in judo. Is the kata guys? But the problem with the kata guys,
I think Kosen more sophisticated. You did a Kosen tournament, right?
Yeah, I did.
I think they have more sophisticated groundwork. Like they still have a lot more because their rules haven't changed in so long, right?
Like the groundwork, I never did like Kosen classes. I just went to a Kosen tournament, and I mean, but what was your question again? You said that their ground game.
Like maybe also like Kosen might be keeping some more sophisticated judo groundwork alive
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But I mean, I went there with my buddy and I smashed everybody. Oh, I came in second there. One guy like he he won fair and square. But I'm sure if my wrestling got better since then, so I'm sure if we were to meet again, it would be a different game.
Mm.
But my buddy and me, like we just do judo and we wrestle, and yeah, he smashed everyone. So at that tournament. I think he did like 4 or 6 fights. I did like 4, and I won 3 of them. But we didn't like from what I saw when my friend was fighting these guys, and when I was fighting like my guys in my category, like they didn't seem that good on the ground, that sophisticated. But I mean, that doesn't has nothing to do with Kosen. I'm sure if I go to Japan,
Right, to the actual university.
they're gonna crush me on the ground, because there's some guys there who are really, really, and you know where it comes from, right? Like this whole ground versus standing up war, so to speak, like BJJ versus judo, like this has been played out like in the 1950s in the Japan. There was the Kyoto school and there was the Tokyo school. Tokyo, I think, was you guys would have to go check out Shaddy's channel. Like he's really a good channel for historical judo and all that kind of stuff. And he talks about that a lot. And that's where I learned that from. Like they were going back and forth about like with that. I wouldn't call it a debate, but they were fighting. Back in those days, it was your club, my club. Let's see who's better. That's it. That's all. So they would have like tournaments. And they would fight each other. And Kyoto was where the guys would do a lot of groundwork, and it was crazy, man. They were absolutely going insane. They were trying to change the rules. They were complaining because the thing is, the Tokyo school were really good at Tachiwaza, So then, like the Kyoto, like they were having a hard time. Like I might be wrong here, but more or less, right? They were having a hard time. So then they started bringing the shit to the ground. And they started leg locking the living crap out of everyone. They were just like choking everyone out, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, And so like this whole right now in the West, where people are like, oh, BJJ judo, like guys, you guys don't understand. This is like old history. This is just history repeating itself in America. That's all it is. Like this has been going on like for ages over there, So anyways, all that to say that.
I'm gonna have to check that video out by Shadi. I've seen some of his other videos, but I hadn't seen that one. What do you know? Do you remember the name of the video?
No. But if you write down, like, I'm sure if you type in something like, okay, now I'm really guessing here, but maybe something like Kyoto versus Tokyo or leg locks in judo, and like you'll find something. You look through his videos, and it was really interesting. Because he does a lot of research on these videos, man. So
this is a very interesting discussion, but I feel like we're getting a little sidetracked.
Oh yeah. Okay, no problem. Let's get back to BJJ here for a second. Okay, so criteria 1 for BJJ. Let's go with the first one. Popular and widespread. Man,
it's
spread.
Yeah, it is. It can be hit or miss depending on the region I think you're in the world, but it's pretty good for widespread. Like even here in Guatemala, there's several BJJ schools, but they're all in the capital. So,
Yeah, and with the advent of MMA, it made it even more popular, right? Because you need to. It's part of like any MMA curriculum. It's going to be jiu-jitsu. Like you need jiu-jitsu or else you're going to get choked out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that helps tremendously. And UFC is super popular at this point. And people like even casuals, people who aren't like practitioners or don't really know understand the sport that deeply, they know what BJJ is. They know what a rear naked choke is. They know what a sprawl is. They know, so it's pretty popular, man. I would say at this point, it's probably
here where I'm at in the specific town I'm in. There's judo, but not BJJ. But even BJJ is so popular that there's a karate school that I went to this school just to check it out because they advertised online. They just said that they're like, yeah, we have jiu-jitsu. So I go, and it's a karate guy who's never studied jujitsu. He had printed out a list of like moves from jujitsu and was just teaching them. And it was actually pretty interesting. I mean, in terms of being entertaining, but it was crazy. Then they were just capitalizing on the fact that people wanted to learn jujitsu. You know, people had heard of it, just exactly like what you're saying. They, you know, people watch MMA or whatever. And they're like, oh man, I want to do this. So they look it up here in this town I'm in. And so this karate school decided to just start saying that they offer that. Wild.
The dojo life.
Yeah. You know, I should submit that because they have like an Instagram, right? I'm going to submit that to that.
Yeah.
Wow, just saying, you know, jujitsu, like, and he was wearing a black belt too because he had a black belt in the style of karate that they taught, you know. So he just decided to wear it for the jujitsu class too.
Yeah, doing the jujitsu class in his karate gi. Okay, yeah. Well, I would give BJJ like for popularity and being widespread, man, I would give it at least an 8.
Yeah. With the only thing that we as judo have as an advantage is that sometimes in more remote areas, because it's taught often like with other like Olympic sports and stuff, sometimes like here in Guatemala, it's way more accessible because every single state has their own judo thing.
Yeah, right? It's state funded, so it's cheaper, it's more accessible, you know, and that's why judo is like probably a lot more practiced more worldwide. You know? But judo BJJ might actually be at the moment more popular.
Yeah, I would say BJJ should get, if not an 8, maybe even a 9.
Yeah, let's give it a 9, man, because you know, like,
and they've heard that. Sure.
You know, in Abu Dhabi, or like Abu Dhabi. So there's in Abu Dhabi, it's part of, I think my geography sucks, guys. So it's part of the United Arab Emirates. Right? You know, like they got oil, they got money and all that. And the prince over there made it like mandatory for all the schools to do BJJ.
That's pretty cool.
Part of the curriculum. And they have like and they have a lot of like everyone's doing BJJ over there. And they have like that prestigious BJJ tournament, Abu Dhabi Combat Club, ADCC.
Oh, that's what ADCC stands for?
Yeah, you didn't know?
Okay. Wow, and I've heard of ADCC a bunch, but I had no idea. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so over there, it's insane. Like everyone's doing BJJ, man. So you know, like they're like, oh, like the prince fell in love with it, and he's like one of those guys that practice a lot. So they just organize that competition, and you got all these guys, all these what's the word I'm looking for? You know Muslims where they wear that thing, and you know it's long. I don't know what you call that, but yeah, they're all the dudes are like just watching grappling competition. Guys getting choked out and taken down and leg locked and all that. It's funny.
Really cool. Huh.
Yeah. Okay, so 9 on for popularity and widespread. Now, if we were to go to the next one, age diversity.
Good.
9. I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say it's about as good as it could be.
Man, I see like 5-year-olds like starting BJJ now at this point. That's how, and I see like, and then you see guys like me still practicing. You have guys like a lot of adults, older adults, they start BJJ like in their 30s, 40s, 50s, you know, even 60s, man. You see guys like starting. So I think that it's really, really age friendly.
I would almost even say maybe 10.
Yeah, you're right about that.
It's better than BJJ in that specific point of like, if you're like, oh, I want to practice this martial art, but I'm this age. Like BJJ is a good answer at any age, I think, to that question.
Yeah, exactly. You know, because like you don't want to necessarily put your kid into boxing, for example, right? Because of the head trauma and all that, you don't want them to get punched in the head, so it might not be ideal for a kid. And then as an adult, you know, but we're getting off a little bit off track. We'll get to boxing in a second. But age diversity for BJJ, I would give it a 10 for sure.
Yeah, they have everyone. They have everyone. And the BJJ place that's in the capital. I'm too far from the capital of Guatemala. Otherwise, I'd probably check this place out.
Mhm.
But they even have a class called baby jujitsu, which is for like the ages 3 to 6. So they have everything.
Anything to sell geese, eh? But hey, why not? Okay, okay, okay. So next, so we agree on that. Yeah, so 10 on 10 for age diversity. Now, if we go to the next one, newbie friendly. So once again, newbie friendly is more about like if you go to the gym, how welcoming it is. Is that it? So it's
Yeah, exactly. Like, how will you feel like you come in, you're a newbie, you're not very experienced in the martial art? Is it going to be cool? Will people be like, will they treat you maybe less respectfully, or will it kind of be like, hey, you're not cool yet because you're not advanced?
yeah, that's it. There you go. That's my experience with BJJ. You go in there, if you're a newbie, you hang out with the newbies.
Mhm.
And then you might get to talk to a blue belt because they're still kind of newbie-ish, but they're they've been there a little bit longer than you. And yeah, and then a lot of times, from my experience in the past, it's kind of like the black belts they don't even talk to you kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
He might not even roll with you because he's like, yeah, a waste of time. He'll send one of his purple belts, but then the purple belt will be kind of like pissed off about it because he doesn't want to train you because you're useless and you're a beginner. So so he might send a blue belt, and then the blue belt you might actually connect with. You have to like you have to befriend the white belts, and then eventually, as you become actually useful to the blue belt, as in, like give them a good workout or whatever, then after that you start like, so in that regards, it's probably not too friendly.
It's not bad, I don't think, but yeah, not perfect for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not horrible because like we're gonna get to the next thing. Like friendliness and culture wise, I think it's top notch.
Mhm.
And there's a specific reason for that. But just to finish off, like newbie friendly.
Maybe like a 7, do you think?
Nah, seven's too high, man.
Too high?
Yeah, yeah. What is it? Is it? I mean, it's like me. Okay, the first club that I started at. Okay, to be fair, guys, the first like this wasn't really my experience because the first club I was at, I was the first student. It was a brand new club, and everyone who came in, I was basically their senior. And then
You never had to be a newbie.
yeah, not really, because then after that, my experience was that I stayed there for 3 years, so I was already, and then when I left, I was practically purple. I was told later on that they were very close to giving me a purple, but I left. And when I got to the new club, like yeah, I was a blue slash purple practically, blue practically borderline purple. So I was already whipping ass. Like I was fucking shit up. And because of that, like I was given like automatic respect, right? Like I come in, I smash, friends, like that.
Yeah.
So, but I've noticed that yeah. So yeah, you know what? A six or a seven. I'm not sure.
Maybe 6. Maybe 6.
Okay, 6. Yeah, like okay, let's just give it a 6, right? Or maybe yeah, even a 7 wouldn't be too bad. Because, like there's a lot of white belts. So if you go in and there's a bunch of white belts, even if all the other colored belts don't really talk to you, doesn't matter. You congregate with like a whole bunch of white belts. So
Yeah.
okay, let's just give it a 6.
Okay, there we go. Oh no, hold on. I closed the document, so I gotta reopen it to see what's next.
It's friendly culture.
Oh right, okay, yeah, super friendly.
10. I would give it a 10, honestly. Like like a lot of people are like, oh, BJJ saved my life. And BJJ, I wouldn't say saved my life, but impacted it in a huge way. Like gave me reason, like a meaning, a purpose in life. It was like I would be there all the time. It's super relaxed. It's super cool. Guys would hang out after. Like I made a lot of friends in BJJ still till this day. Like, I had these friends, and they're very close friends as well. So I would give it a 10 on 10. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Yeah, and I mean, the note I put after to define it was, do people tend to hang out and socialize outside of training? Which I would say, like, definitely.
Oh yeah, yeah. Even like after class, they just like mope around and stuff like that. They just hang out, they talk, and you got you meet a lot of really cool people in BJJ, man. Everyone's chill, and a funny thing is that um, here, here's my take on it as well. It's that when you're that close and hugging each other, it just there's like a bond that's even though you're trying to choke each other out and armbar each other,
That's what
but
I was going to say. Like because earlier, remember we noticed that these are all combat sports, right?
yeah.
That's why I think that is, because when I was thinking friendly martial arts, everything that comes to mind is combat sports.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's physical, like you're touching the people, like it's like physical intimacy,
Yeah.
that's in a completely platonic, normal environment. Because normally people aren't physically intimate like that because it'd be weird. But in combat sports, it's not weird. So you build tons of physical intimacy in a friendly, normal way, and then,
Yeah, and you develop that respect, for each other's skill set, and you're both trying to, you're using each other to improve. So it's very intimate as a sport. It's
Yeah.
platonic, but it's intimate. If that makes any sense. And you're like hugging another dude, you're sweating on each other, for Christ's sake.
It's like, if you have brothers. Do you have any brothers?
No.
I have a brother, and I think when you're little and you have a brother, one of the things that makes you so close is that you're always beating the crap out of each other. Like, that really does build a bond.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of like like any guy that you fight, right? Like I've heard this. I don't know if it's true or not. Like I've done judo competitions and jiu-jitsu competitions, but I've heard like in striking sports, like in boxing, okay, maybe not boxing, because they're kind of just they're a-holes. Not all of them, but the attitude is a little bit different, I find. But like in the UFC, right? You see that the guys who do MMA, after they fight each other, there's for the most part there's a lot of respect still.
Mm-hmm.
Because you went mano a mano with the guy, and without him you wouldn't have had a fight. You wouldn't have had you wouldn't have made any money. So you actually, and GSP talked about this. He's like, the guy in front of you, your opponent, he actually has the most in common with you at that moment in time. You're both fighters. You both train. You both weigh the same weight. You both practice the same sport. You're both helping each other out because it's a contract that you get into. So you showed up, he showed up, so we're both getting paid. And obviously there's bonuses and whatever, but like we're actually helping each other out here. We're each other's best friend. Whether I knock you out or you knock me out, okay, then it's a highlight reel for you and it's whatever for me. But and if we get a good fight, we put on a good show, we might get a bonus. So that guy in front of you is actually your best friend at that moment. He's the guy that you have the most in common with in the world at that moment in time. It's pretty, like, that's the way he explained it. And I think that fighting creates that respect, that bond, when you share that intensity with each other. So I think that BJJ is amazing for that. And that's why there's so many guys that say BJJ saved my life. Like before that, I was wandering around doing a whole bunch of BS, didn't have any friends, was bored out of my mind, just working, going home, whatever, But this, it actually focused them, it helped them, and it's such a big stress reliever as well, because you get to go all out. You get to really, grapple hard, and you'll still be okay, and your partner will still be okay, and then you get to go do it all over again the next day. So it's amazing for that. And injuries, like obviously if you go crazy and you do it, you're too intense about it. But for the most part, it's pretty safe, So
yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. So 10 on 10.
Yep.
Okay, so let me do the math here. So we got 9 plus 10 plus 6 plus 10 4 8.75.
I think it deserves better.
Yeah, yeah. We could just. You think it deserves better?
Yeah, I think we should just put it straight to S tier.
Okay, S tier. Okay.
Yeah.
What is
My
this?
reasoning for that is that if someone were to say, I'm looking for community and I want to make friends, is BJJ a good martial art? I feel really confident being like, yeah, probably. Like if your goal is that, like the odds are it'll work. Like almost without even worrying. You know, they're like, I found a school that says they teach BJJ. Is this good for that? I'd be like, yeah, probably. It's going to probably be pretty good for making friends.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So we'll put it S for sure. Okay, next up, let's see now. MMA.
That's more interesting because that's a more controversial one.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so MMA. I've never trained in a MMA gym. I've been to MMA gyms, and just to give like viewers a little bit of more context. So I've been in MMA gyms. I train MMA now with at my club with guys who compete and train in MMA as well. So yeah, anyways, popular, widespread. I think it's pretty popular.
It is popular in the sense that people watch it a lot and have heard of it. But what about popular in terms of being able to train in it? What I mean by that is like if you go somewhere, will they have a place you can go and train for MMA?
Well, I know in the U.S. it's very popular. There's MMA gyms all over the place right now.
Mexico too.
Yeah. Okay. So if we go to, I know France just like legalized it, so there's MMA gyms popping up. Russia, of course, like they're MMA friendly for sure. So
I mean, it's definitely popular and it's becoming more widespread. But yeah. I don't think it's perfect. Like it's not Taekwondo, right? Like Taekwondo is everywhere.
Is it?
You know what I mean? Well, for crappy little kid schools, yeah. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying the schools are always good, but you can go anywhere and they'll have Taekwondo dojangs.
That's because it's like a McDonald's. It's like a McDonald's. They're everywhere, but they're everywhere.
So
not that no one really cares, but yeah, no one really cares. Like no one really takes them seriously. That's what I mean, right? Not that nobody cares, but no one really takes them all that seriously, I think. Whereas MMA, if you go to even Asia, oh man, it's exploded in Asia now. UFC been to China, I think once or twice or whatever, and you got ONE FC over there. Like they're big into MMA. Even in Japan, MMA is a big thing. Eastern Europe, big thing. Where else? You said Mexico, Mexico, big thing as well. States, Canada, pretty big thing. So,
I think it deserves a BC rating. Not as high as BJJ, but
yeah. Because we're talking about like well for now we're just so because BJJ was we gave it a 9 on 10 in terms of popularity and widespread. So if it's a little bit under BJJ, then what, 8?
Maybe. And another thing I wonder, since we were talking about McDojos, is there are places out there that will advertise an MMA class? And it almost kind of reminds me of those kickboxing classes they had in the day that were just basically like an exercise class. You know, you're kicking the air, you do some pad work, they're playing like music,
100%. Because of its popularity, you're gonna have guys who are like, we do MMA, and they're just watching videos. They're just doing like random stuff. It's not like an actual MMA gym, but they'll just put it there. Like, we have an MMA course, but it's not. It's not as.
No one's competing.
Yeah, no one's competing. Exactly, which is fine too. I mean, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, to train MMA in a gym that's not competitive, because that might not be your goal, which is fine. And any kind of martial art you practice, like if you're doing it for, for physical fitness, for health, just to have fun, just to learn something interesting, it's still good. It's still good, right? But you just can't what's the word? Delude yourself into thinking that if you're training at a club that's not competitive by a teacher who, doesn't have any really solid credentials, then you have to not take that too seriously. Not and think like, oh yeah, me, I do MMA, yeah, but it's important like where you get like who you're learning from as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's an MMA gym here in Guatemala that I'm hoping to check out soon, and that's actually like the only relatively. It was the only one I could find, and it's in the capital, so I have to wait till I go to the capital to try it out. But I like it because they use judo as their grappling base, so I'm curious.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah. Please do. I'm curious. Okay,
I think 8 is reasonable. Maybe 8. Yeah, I think 8's good.
Yeah, because it's coming up there, right? So I think it's either 7 or 8, but yeah, let's give it an 8. Okay, so what about age diversity?
Not good. In reality, I personally am of the opinion not good. I don't think there's a lot of kids doing it, and I wouldn't even say there are. As far as like older people, they're there, like men who are maybe in their 30s, maybe 40s, but I don't think there's a ton of that. I think it's mostly younger guys.
I'd agree with that, man. I don't see no kids. It's a little bit too violent for parents for the most part, I believe.
It's not always bad. If someone if you are a younger guy, then that's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's, that's just one. It's a downside for everyone else, but it's not like the end of the world, right? Like, because if you're trying to find community, it's not necessarily a bad thing that everyone there is part of the demographic that you're a part of.
Oh, wait, say that again.
All I mean is that if it's mostly, let's say it's mostly young guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they suck at age diversity. But the bonus is that if you are a young guy, then MMA is great for community. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
As long as you're in that demographic, it's awesome.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, so it's definitely like you don't see a lot of like old guys like in their 30s, 40s like, oh yeah, I want to go do MMA. Because MMA it's mostly young guys who want to compete in MMA, want to fight, that train in MMA, right? Because they like it. So it's about fighting. So I would say for age diversity, give it a 3. Yeah.
I mean,
pretty bad. Huh?
Yeah, I would say 3 is even generous, right? Because like it's a pretty narrow demographic. But yeah, I think 3 is fair.
Okay, no, let's go 2. Listen, it is what it is.
It's like Tai Chi. You go to a Tai Chi class, it's going to be a bunch of old ladies, right?
Yeah, there's no diversity there. So it's like
no diversity. So it's about as bad as it can be. I think it's on Tai Chi levels of age diversity.
Okay, so that would be like a 1.
I would say 1. I think it'll probably be. Let me look at the rest of the list. I think MMA is probably, boxing is also probably not super diverse age-wise. But I don't know that much about boxing.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. Like, let's get through MMA first.
Sure.
But yeah, man, MMA. Like a lot of young guys will. I
say 1 or 2, but it's up to you.
Yeah. Okay, let me think here. 1 or 2. Shoot. In that case, age diversity for MMA. Yeah, because if you put it there with Tai Chi, that's literally a 1.
I mean, that's all I'm saying is that
there is people of a certain age that so you can't give it a 0 for Tai Chi. I mean, but a 1, and yeah, I would give it a 2. Because 1, I think Tai Chi would be 1 because it's only old people that practice that stuff. And so MMA, it's a little bit more flexible. There's more flex in it. There'll be guys who you'll have teenagers, 16, 17 starting to train in it, and then 20s, 25, 27 for because
that's true. Good point.
Yeah, so I think, and usually like a guy who's going to go pro, he's been doing it for a while, and then let's say he started at 20-ish, does it for about 20 something, does it for about 10 years. Becomes gets like about 30 something, and then that's pretty much end of career, So you got like a 10-year time frame for MMA. So yeah, I definitely give it a two. Two. Yeah.
Okay.
Two. Two, right? Okay. Next, is it newbie friendly?
So when I trained BJJ very briefly, but it was at an MMA gym that I trained BJJ, and they had an MMA class, and I didn't do it because I went there the first time and I was trying to talk to the coach they had about like, how do I do this class? I was like, hey, I'm really interested. You know, I love this idea. I want to learn MMA. Like, what do I do? And he's like this super gnarled guy, and he was just like, you got a mouth guard? And I was like, well, no, I don't have a mouth guard. I can't. You need a mouth guard for my class. And just walked away. I was like, fuck. So in my experience, it wasn't newbie friendly, but that was just one guy. So
yeah, but you know what? I think that I think you hit that on the spot there, right? Because Venetians they have they're like, I wouldn't say they're all meatheads, but there's a lot of meatheads in there. A lot of guys with that competitive drive that's on maybe a little bit overdrive, you know, and they're all like in that warrior mindset, like, oh, we're here, we're gladiators, we're kill, you know, destroy, blah 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 blah. You know, like they take themselves like the mindset has to be that way if you want to compete, right? So it's not very beginner friendly. If you're a beginner and you come in, you're like, ah, you know, I want to have fun, I want to learn something. They're just gonna look at you like, get the f out of my like they're just gonna beat you up and like throw you, like use you as a punching bag and throw you out because you're kind of a waste of time for them. You know, and I understand that mentality because when I'm like when I'm training for a fight and I'm getting ready, and even though I haven't, I'm planning on fighting sometime this year. Like I got 2 fights coming up this month in September. 2 events I'm supposed to fight at, but they haven't found me an opponent yet. So we're gonna see how that happens. But when I'm training, for the most part, like I take it seriously. So in my mind, I'm there to really focus on my thing, on what I need to do. So I can't really be bothered with newbies or like I'm not there to teach anybody. I don't care. Like if you're not already a training partner or somebody who has something to offer in terms of sparring and training and for you know for me to prep for my fight, I kind of don't want to talk to you. You know?
Yeah.
So absolutely not beginner friendly.
Where would you put it? Like maybe like a 3?
Like it depends. Like me, if I walk into an MMA gym now, I don't care because I understand that mentality. You know, and I've competed a lot in judo. I've competed a lot in BJJ and all that. And I'm at the point where I've done, like, it's been 2 years now. I've been sparring. You know, I've been wrestling. I've been sparring. I've been kickboxing and Muay Thai. 4 months, 5 months now of boxing and stuff. So like I've been hit and I've hit, and you know, like I'm doing the MMA thing and all. So at this point, me walking to a gym, because of my experience level, it's like, whatever. I don't even care. Like I walk in there and I just breathe. Like I don't care who's looking at who, whatever. But if you're a new guy and you walk into an MMA gym, you're gonna get looks, man. You're gonna be like,
So let's say you have a friend, right? Let's say you have a friend who's never done martial arts, and he comes at you. He's like, hey, I want to make friends, and I'm looking at this. I'm going to do an MMA gym. Like, do you think they're going to be like? How should I expect it? Will they be super friendly? What would you tell them?
Well, first of all, like I wouldn't have friends who don't do martial arts.
Okay, fair enough.
At least, like I guess if I have to work with you for some funny reason, I don't mind. I think I'm forced to, but we're not really friends, you know. But let's but let's say I had a friend who told me, yeah, I want to do martial art and I'm having the experience. What should I do?
Who's mainly interested in community, right? He wants to make friends. That's what he's there for. He doesn't care necessarily about other factors as much.
Oh yeah. Don't do it. Because if you suck, you're not like if you're new, you're gonna suck. And if you suck and you're not already at a certain level, you're not making friends that easily in MMA. You know, like you're gonna have a bad experience. And it's better to go somewhere where you're gonna have a good experience and then ease yourself into it and then discover new things slowly but surely. and be properly introduced to martial arts than just run into an MMA gym completely traumatized.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my my thing on it. So I'll give it a one, man. Honestly, a one
Okay.
or a two. What do you think?
Hmm.
I mean, you had a crappy experience as well, so.
Yeah, I had a really bad experience. I would have done MMA if it wasn't because of that. So I would say one, because literally the lack of newbie friendliness is the only reason I ended up not doing it, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, okay. 1 on 10. Okay, okay. Yeah, it's intimidating too. You know, you're like, oh, what do you guys do? Oh, you know, we stand on top of a guy, we punch him in the face. You look at it, and if you don't know what you're looking at, it's absolutely looks like chaos and brutal, and you know, it's
That's
super.
true. The art itself has a very intimidating aesthetic and aura for newbies that I think doesn't really say like, hey, like, you know, if you think of judo's, the way it advertises itself as the gentle way, right? Like, yeah, you official. MMA does not give off that vibe, I think, at all.
Oh no, no, not at all, not at all. But when you get into it, that's when you realize like how technical it actually is. It's like there's a whole system and science and approach and tactics and strategies behind how to ground and pound somebody, which is insane, right? You think it'd be like, no, I'm just standing over the guy and punching him, but no, there's actually a lot more to it. But we digress. So yeah, it's not not movie friendly at all. Okay, what about friendly culture?
Hmm. I have no idea. This one's entirely on you because I don't know. I would only be guessing.
I think that once you're in, you're gonna hang out with the boys for sure. You know, because once again, like if you train a lot together on a regular basis, and if you're all competing, then you're definitely gonna be close because you're gonna be cornering each other, you're gonna be helping each other with training camps and all that kind of stuff. So if you get to that point, or you know, or you're working towards that, you're gonna be close with your training partners, right? If you're at a good gym and you find good training partners, it's definitely a friendly culture, but not at the beginning. Like you come in as a newbie,
Yeah,
you're
you're
just
fresh meat. So okay. So maybe like a 6 or a 7 even, do you think?
I would say more of a yeah, 5 or 6, man. To be honest, so
Maybe 5.
yeah, let's give it a 5 because it's kind of like you have to be part of the club first.
Okay.
You know, you have to be part of like the crew. Like you have to um, prove yourself and get into the crowd. Like get in with the fight guys.
Mhm.
Not like nobody cares. You know, like you walk in and there's like yeah, mouthpiece, no mouthpiece, get out or whatever. Left you hanging, right? So that's kind of
Yeah.
how it is. That guy might actually be a really good guy once you show him that you're not you're up to standards, so to speak, right?
Mhm.
But that might not be your goal. So then, you know, okay. So let's give it a 5. Now, if we were to add this up here, so this is 10 plus sorry, 10 plus 6. 4. It averages out to 4, so we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4. But 4
That's
would be
fair. Realistically, probably that's pretty fair.
yeah. Okay.
I think that's fair.
Okay. Yeah. 4 because that would be same level as Kendo. It would be in the B.
Okay. I think that's well, they're probably around the same neighborhood, right? I mean,
Yeah, because you kind of have to prove yourself in Kendo, right? Like in the sense that like you have to okay, it's friendlier when you come in, but then you're
mhm.
stuck there doing hitting the
Yeah.
ball, like just practicing one technique for a couple of months or whatever, and just footwork or what. And so if you're able to break through, then it becomes a very tight knit group. Then all of a sudden, like you really have close friends because you guys both proven that you're all like guys who are super serious about it. So now you have something really, you have a connection, a deeper connection. Whereas at the beginning, it's whatever.
I think B is fair because while probably if you're doing MMA, the people who you're doing it with, you're probably going to end up you're for sure going to end up becoming friends with them.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, it doesn't have the diversity of kendo, so it has one advantage over kendo. I think it should be in the same category
Yeah.
as kendo based on your description.
Okay. All right. All right. Next up, Aikido. I don't have any experience in Aikido, so I'll just be basing myself. Obviously, I give my opinion and all that, but it's going to be mostly your opinion is going to be a little bit more.
Oh man, I just had a friend who did Aikido. I don't think I can give an educated opinion on Aikido either, without just it being a bunch of negative stereotypes. You know.
All right. Well, let's just go with our negative stereotypes.
Yeah, let's just go for it. Let's just talk completely out of our ass about Aikido right now.
Okay, so let's go for popularity and it being widespread.
Bad. I think it's bad. I think it used to be more popular and widespread, and I think it's declining because of the stereotype. Like the first thing I think of when I hear Aikido, it doesn't work. That's what everyone says. Like it probably deserves a better reputation than it even has at this point because it gets so much hate.
Yeah, you know, we have Rokas from Martial Arts Journey to blame for that.
Yeah, it has a really bad name, and it's not like it's like. I mean, I'm not saying it's not deserved or anything, but I don't think it's that bad. Like, and you even have Tomiki Aikido, which does do pressure testing. Like they have a lot of live sparring. But what people say about Tomiki is that it's just like bad judo. That's what people say.
Oh yeah. I've seen like Aikido competitions there, and yeah, it just looks like crappy judo. You know, some guys holding a stick or some kind of a baton,
Like a knife, like a fake knife,
and then the other guy's grabbing them and flipping them around and stuff like that, which is
sounds fun. It sounds fun.
Yeah, it seems okay, but I mean, you know, realistically, like if somebody has a knife, you're getting stabbed. If they really want to stab you, like
Yeah,
the chances are, right? Like, but okay. So in terms of being it popular and widespread, no,
good.
no, yeah, because there's not like I'm just thinking like where I live. Okay, Aikido school. If I want to learn to Aikido, where do I go? I have no idea. You know,
Yeah.
usually if you're in a big city, there's usually one school, at least freaking one. You know, that's oh yeah, that's where, you know, and I'm a martial arts guy, so I kind of know like you know, like enough about schools and where they are and all that. So I haven't heard of any, man. So I would say,
I mean, I think it should score pretty low. In the country I'm in, Guatemala, there's only one Aikido dojo, and it looks pretty small. Like
is it a karate instructor giving it?
I think it's a dedicated. Let me check it out. It's Zanshin Dojo. Let me check this out. I'm curious. Yeah, it looks like it's a dedicated Aikido place.
Okay. I was just making a joke because, you know, the karate guy who teaches BJJ. That was
Okay. Oh, you know what? This might actually be a karate place. Hold on one sec. Wait a second. Hold on, because I see some people with like judo gis. Looks like they're also doing judo. Oh no, yeah. Okay, it's an Aikido place.
So you see, I got like 3 Aikido clubs here in Montreal when I type in Aikido. So not very well, 3 isn't bad, but I mean it's only 3.
For Montreal, I mean, I'm sure if you looked up BJJ, there'd be more than 3.
Oh my God, BJJ, it's all over the place, man. You got like every single club has BJJ now, you know. So yep. Okay, so let's give it a. Let's just go off what we think. So I'd say what give it a 2.
Maybe a 3 or a 4 because it is in every major city, right? Like they're there.
Okay, let's give it a 4 because if you say Aikido, people know about it, right?
Yeah, like it exists in most places you go.
Yeah, it does exist there. It's just okay. Let's give it a 4 because, you know, you say Aikido to anybody, oh yeah, I know Aikido, Steven Seagal. Oh,
Steven Seagal. Yep, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, Steven Seagal.
Oh, break wrist, yeah. Okay, so what about age diversity? Ooh,
I have no idea.
man, from what I've seen, it's mostly older guys.
Well, when I looked up, so to use a completely meaningless counter anecdote, when I looked up that Aikido place, here, let me look it up. Aikido Guatemala. There's this one dojo, and I looked at the Google photo, and it did seem pretty like nerds of all ages were present. It's like an old guy, some kind of young guys, some middle-aged women as well in there.
Yeah, you see a lot of women like yeah, I think it's
Not all of
like
people.
30, like people who are not athletic.
Yeah, I would say non-athletic people, adults, non-athletic adults. It's
Not
like BJ, people who don't want to sweat.
Yeah, like maybe like 30 and up kind of thing. 30
Yeah.
to like I don't know, 50, 60, you can do this stuff.
Yeah, I've heard they have great ukemi.
You mean break falling?
Yeah, like their break falls are supposedly really good because like they do a lot of compliant drilling. So like
Mhm.
you're just throwing yourself in these dramatic break falls. You know what I mean?
That's all I do in like in judo. Like you have to learn how to break fall properly, or else you will not be a good judoka. Because
Right.
if you're afraid of falling, like you're not gonna accept falls, and then you're gonna get stuff twisted up like pretty quick.
That's what I say. Like from my understanding, Aikido guys have really good break falls
Hmm.
because they practice it a lot. Like since all their throws are compliant, like they're doing really dramatic like ukemi drills to not get injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because if the guy grabs your wrist and he just moves and goes, and you don't follow him, you're gonna you're gonna get your wrist popped out of place. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. And there's some schools that actually practice with the moken, with the wooden sword, so that because it's part of it, right? Yeah. So okay. So in that case, if we're talking about adults, non-athletic adults from 30 till I don't know 60,
That's not
cool.
great diversity.
Yeah. No, that's like I don't know 5. Would that be fair?
Maybe even lower because like nope, I didn't see any kids in any of the pictures I saw.
Nah, kids don't want to do this crap.
Yeah.
I think
Maybe
we're
that's
weird kids, so that's why you took it.
I would put it maybe at a 4, even or a 3. What do you think? I don't feel like it deserves a 5, but I also don't want to hate on Aikido because everyone hates on it, So now I feel defensive towards it. Like I want to protect it, like it's judo's little brother.
I don't like I make fun of a lot of martial arts, but I actually don't hate on them anymore. I used to because I had a different attitude. But now, like the more I practice martial arts and a variety of combat sports and all that, and the more I've been exposed to guys who do traditional martial arts, but who do have like who do know how to fight, but they have like traditional martial arts in their background as well, so they can make it work. Like you could make, like I could make. I personally believe that I can make Aikido work.
Well,
Because
you know who
I know how
I'm hearing this from.
to make Aikido work. I can make Wing Chun work because I know how to fight, right? But I won't, like, obviously I'm gonna have to adapt a lot of what they do, to like the specific, to specifically for fighting. But I can make it work if a guy knows how to fight, so he has all his bases covered. So he understands kickboxing. He knows kickboxing, boxing, wrestling, grappling, jujitsu, and then you give him like one of these things, he's gonna make it work. He can pull off some stuff.
For sure.
Yeah, that's my belief. So I don't hate on them. I just make fun of them. I just poke fun, and because I believe I can make it work. Just because these dorks can't make it work doesn't mean I can make it work. And one day I'm gonna make videos when as the channel grows and I have more time and all that. That's one of my plans too. I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna go to an Aikido school and I'm gonna learn it, for like a year and like just practice a lot, and then I'm gonna I'll go smash somebody like in the cage or or in a judo competition with some of these techniques. And anyways, it'll be fun,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, go for it.
Yep. Okay, so age diversity, 4.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Probably.
Yeah, because 3 would be like a little bit hard on them, right? So, but they might deserve a 3 though.
Yeah, let's be generous. They deserve it. They need our generosity.
They need some love.
They that extra point.
Rokas from Martial Arts Journey has been absolutely destroying them. Traitor. Okay. All right, newbie friendly. What do you think?
I have no idea.
Well, newbie friendly means that you come in and
They seem like they'd be nice.
I think so. They might be delusional. They might be delusional, but they're nice.
Yeah, like they seem like they'd be like integrating you into like yeah, we're gonna teach you to flow. Like, don't worry about like those are the vibes I get from them. So I
Yeah,
don't I
yeah,
don't know.
like hippie, like a little bit hippie-ish.
Yeah.
Very like. Okay, so in that case, you give it a what? Friendly to beginners.
Like let's just maybe 6, just to guess.
6. Yeah, yeah. It's when we're not sure about some shit, we just give it a 6. Yeah, 6. A passing mark, but not enough to show that we fake too much of it and not to,
Yeah, we don't want to display any confidence here because
Exactly, exactly. Okay. Friendly culture, meaning that you guys are gonna hang out and do other stuff outside of the dojo.
well, in Brocus the Martial Arts Journey's video about Aikido, it sounded like he had a lot of friends, but he seems to have a lot of friends in everything he does. So I think he's just a friendly guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Rokas is definitely like a friendly dude.
Yeah.
I can see that. But you know, we're gonna get to judo, but just like as a side note, like I know that it's gonna depend on in what country and what club, right? And it's gonna depend on the coach as well, who's But I think that it. I would have to guess that friendly culture wise, I don't think so, man. Probably give it a 5 or 6. Let's call it a.
Yeah, let's put it in there. We probably sound so stupid right now talking about this to anyone who knows, like who does Aikido. Yeah, I think 6 is good.
They'll chime in. Okay, here are my thoughts why I would give it like a lower grade for a friendly culture is because I find that and this is just my thoughts on it because of it's a Japanese thing. It's a Japanese martial arts. Japanese martial arts tend to be very formal, uptight, very uptight. Sensei, senpai, blah blah blah. Bow all the time. Bow a million times a day, right? So when you bow that many times to somebody, it's like there's kind of like a wall of respect, of
Authority.
so you don't really talk shit and go have beers afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe once a year, and like that's the way it was at my at at the judo clubs that I've been to. But with that said, like my first competition coach, he was all about like hanging out afterwards. But he was from France. And where he came from, it was all about like training hard together. Then we go out and have a beer. Then tomorrow we train again. Then we have another beer. And then on the weekends, we have a lot of beers, right? After we compete. So that was the culture like where he was from. So he was trying to replicate that here. But here I noticed that it wasn't a lot of people that were like into that kind of stuff in judo. It was more, I come, I practice, I go home. They have maybe Christmas, and he was trying to instill that here, but it was and he was successful to a certain degree, but it wasn't the whole club that was involved in it. So I find that the judo culture, Japanese, same thing as Aikido, I think probably garbage, like as well here in North America. For
I would say that's accurate, like the exact way you described, like in terms of it being kind of hierarchical. So there's a little less like closeness and conviviality. That's very true here as well. And I mean, Latin America is very friendly. So
yeah. So whereas BJJ is like the complete opposite. Hey, what's up, man? Or like coming late, leave early. Who cares? No one bows. No one cares. Whereas this, it's very formal. So I would give it like, would a 4 be too low?
Well, I mean, considering our ignorance, I think 4 is fair because we're saying it's probably like that, but we want to be conservative because we don't really know. So I think 4 is fair.
Yeah. Okay. So let me do some quick math here. 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4 plus 1. 12. 12 plus 18. Divided by 4. Okay, so yes, like a 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. What? Wait, that would put it in a B.
Nah, lower.
Lower. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So C.
Yeah. I think C's. What do you think?
C, shit. I think it should be a D.
Yeah, let's put him in D.
Yeah, we're doing averages and then we're just like deciding, yeah, go
But
down.
give us an idea, you know, like, okay, what was the result of all that calculation? But then,
Someone's gonna chime in the comments and be like, okay, you guys don't know how to do math, and, which is fine, We're here to learn, right? You don't have to be, we don't have to be perfect out of the gate. Okay,
Mhm.
so now boxing. Boxing criteria.
you
Popularity.
do boxing, right?
Huh?
You box, right? You'd mentioned you were doing boxing.
Yeah. I started. It's been like 4 or 5 months now that I've been boxing at a boxing gym, and I boxed. I've done boxing at another boxing gym for maybe about a month and a half, like a couple of years back, and so yeah. So I have an idea.
I want your opinion because they have a boxing gym near where I'm at, but it does Olympic. It's like an Olympic boxing, which is like it's a point style. It's like, do you know anything about Olympic boxing?
Yeah, it's amateur boxing, so the rounds are shorter. I think it's like I mean, I don't know how many rounds of like 2 minutes. So you don't have a lot of time. So you really got to score, So you're
Yeah, I
throwing.
think the idea is that they're fighting multiple times a day, like multiple opponents in the same day, right? Like so.
So it's like a tournament style, like so you're, like it goes pretty fast, So
I'm just wondering if it's good because I'm thinking about checking it out and trying it out. But I was just wondering, like, what's the consensus on that? Like, what would you recommend about Olympic boxing? Is it worth it or?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I think that most knockouts that you have, I think for self defense, it's a must to understand hands, and it's gonna give you like a like how long did you do judo for?
Oh, years now. It's been quite a while.
Okay. So like your what grade do you have? Like your black belt, brown belt, or how many
Round.
guys? Brown?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you're brown belt and you've been doing it for years now, right? So you
Mhm.
see how comfortable like you are when you're up close and personal. Like if you get your grips on somebody, or you clinch up or whatever, like against somebody who doesn't do judo and who's like about your weight, let's say, you would be able to throw them, right? You'd be very confident in like, okay, you know, I could sweep this guy. I could do, I could do uranage to him. I could, uchimata. I could, taiotoshi. I could osoto him. I could do whatever I want, right? So that confidence that you have as in throwing somebody who doesn't know anything, well, if you do boxing anywhere from like 6 months to a year, like 2-3 times a week, that's the difference in level you're gonna feel in terms of
Progression.
but in your level, like you'll knock someone the hell out. Like you just know, like you'll understand. Well, you understand boxing, and they call it the sweet science for a reason. And if you understand boxing, like it's amazing for like you can literally knock people out like one shot, back, finish, 1, 2, bam, bam. That's all you need, and you're like, it just goes, it just flies, compared to somebody who never trains. But if you're doing this, you're moving 3 times a week, and you're working on your head movement, your defense, your this and that. Like it gets pretty sophisticated. So then you're like light years ahead of somebody who doesn't have any striking at all. And even compared to a guy who does kickboxing, you would light him up because most knockouts, I think like 90, I don't know what the exact number, but 90% and up, whatever, it's all with this, So like you definitely should try it out.
All right, we'll do. So how would you say for, I would say, I mean, popular and widespread, obviously, very popular and widespread.
Yeah. Boxing, Olympic sport, like worldwide. It's such a like an old thing. It's been around forever. I think it was even in the ancient, like in the Olympics, no? In the ancient Olympics.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm curious now. Ancient Olympics. What games? What games do they have? Running, boxing. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So I mean, yeah, 10 on 10 easy. What, like, no question about that. That's just my take on it.
Okay, maybe age diversity might be a little more limited there.
Ooh, yeah. So what's the so like most athletes after the age of what, like 30, 35, like it's over, right?
I'm not really. I don't really know. I don't know. I mean, that's what I would guess, but I don't have the experience with it because I've never done boxing. Like I've never even been to a boxing gym.
Well, boxing is very very dangerous for concussion, right? For your brain. And pros, well, they spar a lot and they have like so over time, like things wear out. Like your brain's gonna, take a beating and all that. You don't
Yeah.
last, like you don't have infinite amount of years. So I think that it's not that you could start young. There's a lot of people, like it's not ideal, but sometimes like whatever, people start young anyway, like kids and all. But I would say um past the age of like a pro athlete finishes like at 30, 35. Same thing, like kind of like UFC, right? Them it's different. Them it's the body that gets damaged, but the brain is for the most part a lot better than boxing. I think boxing it's a lot more dangerous for your brain for concussion and all that. So I would say that people who do boxing past the age of like 30, it's done. It's finished. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Like
not
now.
great.
Hmm?
So not great for age diversity, right? Like if you're going to make friends and you're outside of the age range of people who are doing a lot of boxing, you're probably going to be basically out of luck.
Yeah. Yeah, you out of luck, because like the guys who you're gonna meet in the boxing gym are young guys, who want to, who are training because they want to fight, or they want to spar hard or whatever. So like, yeah, it's not. I would give it age diversity. Probably. What do we give MMA?
I can't remember. MMA, I think we gave MMA something really low, like a 2 or something, or even was it like a 1, I think?
Oh,
Yeah.
we gave it a 2. Sorry. So if we gave MMA a 2, I would give boxing a 2 as well.
Okay.
And for age diversity. It's about the same. It's like the same thing, in my opinion. So yeah, boxing. Let's give that a 2. Now, do you agree with that?
That sounds fair to me. I think it's probably guys in their 20s, maybe some 30s, and that's pretty much what you got.
Yeah. Because it's rare that unless they're properly coached and they do a lot of more pad work than anything else. Like sparring can be a very scary thing if you're not used to it, and yeah, and if it's not approached correctly and you're not like introduced to it in a progressive manner, it can be very traumatizing. And sometimes in boxing gyms they have this, like it's getting better now from what I've been told, but my coaches were telling me, yeah, it used to be that you just come in and whatever, like the guys who last, they last. If you don't, you don't. Too bad. You just gotta tough it out, prove yourself, get better, and eventually figure it out. Like they'll coach you, but you still have to like school of hard knocks, right? And who wants to go through that? Like when you're young, yeah, you don't care because you're full of piss and vinegar. But when you get older, like you want to keep your brain, like you don't want to wake up with a headache, go to work and start forgetting things, like doesn't make sense, right? So for the most part, older guys, like they're gonna shy away from boxing, you know. So that's just my take on it. Like, and a lot of people now, like with what we know about CTE, yeah, even worse. So definitely a 2. Now, newbie friendly. I would say it's not newbie friendly at all. You can't give it a 0 because you have to give it something. But I would say it's the same. It's the same as MMA. It's not very newbie friendly, man.
Okay.
Like you walk into a boxing gym, it's very similar to MMA. People are just like, it's just a very, everyone's there for themselves. Everyone's there to prove something. Everyone there has ego, but when it comes to hands, it's like it's more violent. It's less, there's less love in it.
Gentle.
Yeah. I'm not saying that that you don't have gyms where you walk in and it's like, well, super friendly, newbie friendly. And by newbie friendly, we mean that by people like, you know, hey, how's it going? No, boxing gyms are it's uh, very masculine, very,
Yeah.
savvy.
So maybe they don't get the best score on be friendly. Where would you put them? Like maybe like at a 2, or would you say 1?
You mean for boxing?
Yeah. What did I say?
Um, well, for MMA, we put it 1.
So maybe the same 1.
Yeah, definitely 1.
Okay.
It's definitely a 1. It's not like because nobody cares when you walk in. Once again, it's the same exact thing. It's like nobody cares. People are just there punching their bags, doing their shadow boxing, skipping rope, bam, bam, doing pad work, sparring back. So no one like gives like you could stand there for like the whole class. No one's gonna come say hi to you.
Okay.
Like you have to like, hey, yeah, is there a coach here? Like you have to go get it yourself. Like if you're lucky, somebody might actually say something to you. But for the most part, like you walk in, you don't know who's who, and yeah, that's how it is. But it's no big deal.
So how does that transfer into because some of that kind of touches on friendly culture, but
Friendly culture.
Mhm.
I think it's not that good friendly culture, man. 'Cause, like people go in there, they do their thing, and then from there, it's like then they go home. And
Got it.
everyone's out for themselves. I feel it's more of that attitude. It's leaning more towards that. But of course, once again, if you get in tight, you'll find your crew within the gym. You
Okay.
know, if you train enough, if you're consistent, and you always show up at the same time, and then you have other guys who show up at the same time. They're prepping for a fight, you're prepping for a fight, and then you develop a relationship with the coaches. So you'll have a little bubble, you know. But I would say your bubble is even probably um, not as tight as MMA. MMA, like the bubble's tighter because well, there's a lot more things that you're doing together. Like there's some grappling involved, right? So
Yeah,
you
the
kind
hugging.
the hugging changes everything, guys. So you got if you have a hugging type of martial art, like it's gonna be it's gonna be more closer, Whereas
But boxing has the clinch, so it only counts if you're hugging on the ground, right? Like you're like laying down together, rolling around and stuff.
you mean what in MMA?
Well, what I mean is that boxing they do have hugging because they have clinch work.
Not really. They're not allowed to clinch for that long. Like
That's true. They get broken up,
you get
and
broken
that's
up. Yeah, you're not allowed to clinch. Like you can clinch and then you can throw one shot and the refs, hey, whoa, 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 and they'll break you off. So yeah, you can't even hug. It's just like you just want space and then you crack the guy in the face. So it's pretty, you know. And yeah, and maybe that you're sparring with a guy, but he cracks you in the face all the time. You're not gonna like him too much,
right.
because then you're gonna try and crack him back, and it gets it's not I would say yeah for that last thing like culture friendly and culture. How much did we give? Ooh, we gave MMA a 5, but I feel from my experience feels like a 1, man. Feels like a 1.
Put it there. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
Be bold.
no. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 10 plus 2, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so 14 divided by 4. 3.5. So 1, 2, 3. But that would put it at C. So that would actually put it higher than Aikido, which doesn't make sense.
Fair, but that's just because we were bullying Aikido. In reality, we were kind of bullying Aikido. So
yeah, but we have to take into consideration that the criteria is because boxing scored big on popularity and being widespread, right? But it complete garbage everything else.
Mhm.
So
like I think maybe boxing should be higher because, for example, where I'm at right now, there's boxing and there isn't Aikido. It's like Aikido is not even a factor for me. I couldn't even do it if I wanted.
Yeah.
Whereas I could do boxing. I think boxing deserves to be maybe a little bit higher.
Okay. So fair to say, okay, boxing will be C, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. Yeah, just because of the popularity factor, so we can't just disregard that and say like, oh no, we're not gonna take that into consideration. Okay,
Yeah.
so we got that here. All right. Next up, judo.
I've been waiting for this.
Judo, very interesting one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So popular and widespread is the first category. And while it does have that, I feel like for a lot of people, for people who are in North America, that's actually one of its weak points. Like it's not that widespread in the US, not really. But in the rest of the world, it's pretty strong. So
yeah, because it is practiced in like I think 172 countries. So it's pretty widespread internationally, but maybe not in Canada. It's not that big, and in the US, it's not that big. So, but it is a popular sport. It's in the Olympics.
Yeah, right? It is very popular. It is very popular, but it's. I mean, I would put it. I think it deserves to be one rank below BJJ because BJJ has a lot of hype and popularity that judo used to have that it doesn't really have anymore. You know, like judo got into the Olympics during a time when judo was way bigger even than it is now.
Yeah.
So I feel like judo should be maybe 1 or 2 points below where BJJ was.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And we're ranking it higher than, because if we put it in A, we're ranking it higher than kendo and
MMA. Yeah, I would put it, I mean, probably around there's probably more places doing judo than there are doing MMA in the world. Well, for sure. But on the other hand, it doesn't have like that rising factor that MMA has, that it's just getting bigger every day.
True that. Like, you know, because judo, they suck at marketing.
Yeah, really bad. They don't even do it. Don't do marketing.
Yeah, they try to kind of, but not really. You know, I don't know. It's the whole humility thing. You know, stay quiet, stay humble, just work hard.
I think there were like back in the day ones who were good at marketing. They just started their own martial art. Like the guys in Brazil were like, we're just going to call this something. Same thing with the guys in Russia. They were like, we're just going to market this and call it sambo. So like people who wanted to market it were too good at marketing it, and they marketed it as their own thing.
Yeah, you're like, well, I'm going to help all these schools. You know, like I'm not going to get anything out. Yeah, you're right about that. Okay. So let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, we're going to give it. Man, I think like a passing grade would be 6. It's definitely more than a passing grade, right?
Yeah, it deserves a passing grade.
So higher than, you know, so that would leave us with 7, 8, 9, or 10. It's not a 10,
no.
Right? Because 10 would be like BJJ, boxing level popularity. You know, and boxing, BJJ, MMA popularity. So it's not as popular, but it's still pretty popular. So I'm thinking anywhere between 8 and 9.
I think 8 then, because I was thinking between 7 and 8. Okay. So maybe it's a good compromise.
All right, awesome. Okay, so let's call it an 8. All right, for age diversity. This is an interesting one.
I think bad.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because even at my club now, most clubs, guys past the age of like 30, there's not that many.
And internationally, it's actually worse. Like in places where judo is actually pretty popular, it becomes even more kid oriented. You know? So I would say not great.
Not great. So not even a passing mark, or a 5, because a 6 would be passing, like 5 would be.
I think we should get 4. because and it's not even like even in terms of it's even worse than some other martial arts because other martial arts might have a lack of diversity because of culture, but judo honestly is kind of hard like past a certain like for if someone's older and they're not already athletic, like judo is not the easiest thing to just jump into, you know, like it kind of is a little more demanding, you know.
Yeah, all the falling down and all that. It's hard on the body. So if you're not already strong and athletic, or you used to be, and you still have some remnants of that, like in
Mhm.
yourself, yeesh, it's gonna be you're gonna quit pretty. You get injured. That's what's gonna happen. You
Yeah,
know, or you're gonna be stuck doing Niwas for a very long time. But then you might as well just do BJJ because
like
uh,
at the place I'm training at, there's like a few other adults who I'm always trying to text them, get them to come more, you know, and it's a ton of kids. So I would say four is even being generous. I think four, but I don't know what you think. I think even with four, we're being kind of generous, but four I think is fair.
hmm, I think one might actually be good because yeah, like at my club, man, like when I got there, it was a bunch of kids, and there were supposed to be adults, and some of them got injured and blah blah blah. But then now we have a lot more people. Like we have a lot more guys in their 20s,
Mhm.
but it's all guys from like national team, ex nationals,
That's
national nationals. Like they're all there training. They're all in their 20s, but there's early 20s. There's nobody like I'm like the last old guy over there. That
and
trains.
I went to the capital and I saw the national team for here in Guatemala training, and then all of a sudden, yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. It was all guys between 20 and 30. But
Yeah,
other than that, like no, like
yeah.
that was the only time I saw that. So
Hmm. Okay, so let's give it a 4. Like it's not. Wait, who else got like a really crappy mark on age diversity in this scenario?
MMA got a bad score.
Yeah,
It got
yeah.
like
And they got a 2.
yeah.
Ranking it better. Yeah, it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more friendly than MMA because there's kids. There's kids that actually do a lot of kids that do judo. You could start at the age of whatever 5, to
Mhm.
do judo practically. So it's definitely better than MMA. We gave Aikido 4, but I don't see a lot of kids doing Aikido. But I think it's just a popular. That's probably more due to popularity than anything else because no
Yeah.
kid wants to do Aikido,
Mhm.
right?
I mean, basically, like if someone's like under the age of 20 and they wanted to make friends, judo is a fantastic choice
Mm,
for that. Like it'll undoubtedly work. If you're in your 20s, it's like yeah, probably. Outside of that, it becomes harder and harder.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, definitely. Okay, so we gave Aikido 4. If we gave Aikido 4 and we gave MMA 2, yeah, it's not really 2. Judo, yeah, judo definitely deserves to be higher on the age diversity than MMA. Uh, More than Aikido, So, well, more than Aikido. Aikido, we gave it a 4. So I would say it deserves at least as much as Aikido in terms of age diversity, because
Yeah,
Aikido is just a bunch of old guys, like when
yeah.
you said like 30 to like whatever.
Maybe a five.
Huh?
Maybe a five.
Yeah, maybe a 5. I think it's not a passing grade, but it's and a 5 might be because think about it, like you have 5 till the age of 30, right?
Mhm.
And then from Aikido, you have 30 until I don't know 50
Yeah.
ish, 60 if you want to be really generous. So they're about the same, but I feel as though it's still a little bit more.
Well, and
Uh,
practically speaking, younger ages are kind of better because probably the main people who are out there trying to make friends aren't 60 for the most part who are doing a martial art to make friends. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So young should give you more points than old.
Okay, okay, got it. Okay, so we agree on a 5.
Yeah, I think five is fair.
Okay, okay, 5. All right. So then the next one now for newbie friendly.
I mean, I think it's not bad. I think there's a kind of formality, like the authority factor that we mentioned with Aikido. That's
Mhm.
definitely a factor in judo. But I also feel like when you're a newbie, like higher belts almost kind of treat you like a little puppy, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I have the same experience. Like, like black belts will come see you, they'll talk to you. Oh, they want to teach,
Yeah.
right?
And
Whereas,
teaching is part of judo's culture, like the teaching aspect and passing it on and all of that.
yeah, because in BJJ it's completely the opposite. It's like no, like you can't talk to a black belt because you're below him, kind of thing, right? But
Mhm.
in judo, it's like, man, I remember my first thought was all these black belts are talking to me and showing me shit, and they actually want to do randori with me to and show me technique and practice with me and stuff like that. Whereas it wasn't like that with BJJ. So I think it's definitely friendlier than BJJ. But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like from when I started, even if there's someone who's a member of the national team or whatever, if they'd come by and you wanted to do randori, very rarely are people like, oh, da da da. People are like, yeah, definitely, and they go super easy on you because they know you suck, and it's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Except for like I know here if you go to the INS like in Montreal, Quebec, then what happens is that those guys, because if you go to the national center and you go there to train, because you're allowed to go there when you're a brown belt, like your coach can, like put in the application and it'll be accepted and say that okay, I allow this guy to train twice a week over there. But the
Yeah.
thing is, if you're not, but the guy when you go there and there's guys who are like on the national team trying to compete for a qualify to get on the team for the next Olympics, they're pretty savage. Then they don't really care about you because it's all about me, myself, and I, and I'm competing for a place. So if you're not like useful to me, we're not looking at you. Like everyone's like that over there. But that's at the elite level, right? But if you go to any kind of judo club, ultra friendly. Everyone wants to show you everything, like you're a puppy, basically.
Oh man, it was great. There's a blue belt here in this relatively small area I'm from. He doesn't even train anymore. I think he's
Mhm.
like 30. He comes in about like probably once a month. And there was a free tournament, so it wasn't like to qualify because they have like the Central American Games here and everything. It was just a free tournament anybody could go to.
Mhm.
He beat there's three people who were selected for the national team here, and he
Mhm.
beat all of them. Man, this guy's a beast. He doesn't even train anymore. He just came in and destroyed these guys.
Oh boy.
Yeah, man. Anyway, not really related to anything, but just I wish he could come more to the dojo, but he has a job, and he just doesn't have the time. But
Yeah. There's and I think that judo, like if you practice it consistently throughout your lifetime, your understanding of it gets better and better. So you might lose certain attributes, like your power, your speed, whatever, your timing. But then because you have more understanding of the principles and you've had longer time to work on things, then you actually become a better judoka. Like my coach explained to me, the one that I train under right now, he told me that his judo is a lot better than what it used to be. He understands things, he sees things now, but the body doesn't necessarily want to go. Right, with all the injuries and this and that, and he doesn't train as much as he wants to because he's always constantly coaching us and running his business. So, but yeah, I believe like if you're able to keep your body intact and you keep like practicing judo, you could get to a level that's quite impressive. Like that guy you said he's a blue belt.
yeah,
Yeah, and you smash like national team members.
yeah, he's a monster.
Wow, that's
He's
amazing.
a-
Like the national team guys, were they like on the same weight category as him?
Yeah. So when they have a free tournament here, all it means is that
It's a
there's
tournament.
age
Yeah.
or belt brackets. It's just
Mhm,
weight.
mhm.
So they're in the same weight category as him, but other than that, it's
Wow,
mhm.
smashed him. That's amazing. How old is this guy?
I think he's probably he's got to be like between 28 and 32 in that kind of age range.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man.
Mhm.
Okay. So to get back to newbie, definitely more than a passing grade. So definitely more than six,
Mhm.
in my opinion. Mm, would I say it's what was the other one that was really friendly? I think that. Oh yeah, Kendo was really friendly as well. Oh no, it wasn't that friendly.
Well, and the structure of judo, like I feel like judo is very well organized in terms of the curriculum and structure. So that's nice when you're a newbie, you know. But I don't think it's perfect. Like I don't think we have like this amazing newbie culture, you know.
Mhm.
So, maybe like a 7.
Yeah, I think a 7 would be
Pretty respectable.
yeah, pretty respectable for sure. Like we get Kendo like hey, we get Kendo a 5 on the newbie like
Because it was boring.
huh?
Because it's boring in the beginning. I think was our.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was beginning. So that was the only. Wait, when we say newbie friendly, okay, kind of like fitting in, being accepted, you know.
Yeah, feeling like you're part of the gang when you join.
Yeah, I think 7 is fair. Like you know, for judo. I mean, it's not. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's any. What do you call it? Any of these martial arts that you come in and it's
like just love bomb from a cult. Yeah, no, for sure.
it's not like that, right? It's still a martial art. So 7 is still pretty good, you know. Wait, let me think back. Like,
there's definitely an effort in judo. I feel like culturally, in order to make it friendly when people join. Like I feel like it's something people consciously try to do.
yeah, and I know the older guys like to show like the younger, like you know, when you have like older guys who are higher ranked than you know, like brown belt or black belt and stuff like that. They love because you know they don't want to go like it gives them something to do, right? Instead of instead of working out, they get to teach. So they're very open to that. They're like, oh, let me show you this. Oh, you're doing it wrong, and also because you know it's like you said, it's actually part of the culture. So definitely 7 for sure, 7. But why not an 8 though?
Well, one aspect is that there's the hierarchical element that makes it so that like, well, I guess that's not really that big of a thing for newbie friendliness. That's more for friendly culture. So I say 8. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, why not a 9? If we're giving it an 8, why not a 9? Yeah, because it's like perfect, you know?
Like in terms of what we were saying, like in terms of friendliness, like I don't feel like you go in and it's like oh welcome, you know, we're gonna have like it's like oh new person, you know. And I'm not saying any art is like that, but they could be, and it's not.
Well, you know, there's one martial art that we didn't put on the list to talk about, but maybe we'll give it an honorable mention as well. Capoeira.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because yesterday at my club, I'm about to wrap it up, and there's these guys that come in with their capoeira pads and that little stick and that little instrument that they have, and yeah, so that just they seem really friendly.
I've heard. I saw some capoeira guys outside of a library in Mexico City. They were doing like a whole like showing off capoeira basically, and it seemed really cool. And they were super nice.
Yeah, because it's basically dancing, right? Like it's a martial arts, but it's very dancey. There's music involved, so I think and there's a big community behind that. I believe like people who are into capoeira, they can stay capoeira for a very long time. Let's get back to yeah. So I think then they might be a little bit more. Oh, welcome to the family. Dance.
Yeah, sure.
Backward. Okay, so let's give it a 8. The 8 I think is fair. So next one up. So we give it 8-5. Okay, got it. And friendly culture. What do you think?
It's decent. I mean, it's not like this amazing friendly culture. It's like the way I always hear it compared to BJJ, that BJJ comes from Brazil, and so the culture kind of reflects that in terms of being very friendly and open. And judo has more of a Japanese vibe, so it's a little more like formal in that way.
Yeah, it's pretty square, you know. So I mean, while they're friendly to beginners, you know, they're pretty welcoming and all that, and they're there to teach you, to take care of you, and blah blah blah. But like the culture of socializing outside of training. Like I know that in France, where my coach was from, where the clubs that he trained at, they were very like that. Right? It was always like train, go hang out, train, go hang out, train, go hang out. It was very like that in France. Here, I find that it's not like that. You try to replicate it here, and it worked with some of us, but it's not the norm. It's not the norm at all. Usually, it's train, go home. Even after competition, it's go home. Whereas me, like I was so in the habit of after competition with my old coach, it was always we were drinking like after training. So imagine after a competition, So not like excessively, not all the time, but we're having a good time. So that's his thing. What's your experience?
Well, I would say it's been very friendly for me for the most part. My daughter also does judo, and since she's like obviously she's a lot younger, it's been phenomenal for her like social life. I would say it's been pretty good for her in that regard. Like all of her current friends, it's exactly like what you said about BJJ, but as a kid,
Oh, okay, the kids version. Oh,
yeah,
ultra social.
yeah, like super social. They're all friends with each other, and that's like their main friend clique for everybody who's there. So I think in that regard, it's pretty good, and it's probably underrated because usually when people are talking about judo social life, it's adults, like it's grown men who are talking about it. But probably the people who get the most out of it socially are kids. It was mostly built around, right? Like judo in terms of being like a pedagogical system. That kids are who it had in mind from the beginning anyway. So I would say pretty good if you're especially if you're part of the demographic that it was really like, it's really aimed at in most places. Outside of that, I would say it's decent. It gets passing. So like, I would put it this way. If you're a kid, it's probably like a 9, if not a 10.
Yeah.
If you're
I agree with that. Okay, but for adults, 6, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely like, okay, we'll get a passing rate, but it's not much higher than that. But definitely as a kid, wow, it's the life. Like you hang out, you compete, you have fun together, you're jumping around, you're doing all kinds of stuff. It's like it was really geared towards, it's like a teaching tool, and yeah, they used it really good on kids. Like they had the whole system set up. Okay, so let's add this up here. Okay, so 16 plus 5 plus 6 divided by 4. Oh, let me just do that again. $6.75. 6.75. That would put it up at S. So same level as BJJ, but we know it's not the same as BJJ, right? Because BJJ actually got like a 8.75.
Yeah, so it should be lower for sure.
It should be 8 because it does rank higher than because there's nothing in 8, right? Like if you look at it right now, we have S. We got BJJ. A, we have nothing, but that would be judo because judo would be under BJJ. Then B, we have kendo and MMA, same spot. C would be boxing. Aikido would be D, and E, well, we got nothing for E.
Maybe we can move everything down by 1 and leave BJJ at S. So like we can have BJJ at S, leave A empty, have judo at B, and then everything else just 1 down from where it's at.
Okay. So yeah. Let me see. Let me just readjust it here.
I don't think we honestly like. I love judo to death, but I don't think we really deserve an A in this specific metric. Like, there's plenty of other things where I'm like, yeah, judo, but in this one, I think B is pretty fair because B is a good grade.
Got it. Okay, so we said SBJJ, judo B. So then you have kendo and MMA in C, right? Boxing in in D, and Aikido in D. There you have it.
Kick down to F, right?
Huh?
I think Aikido would have to get kicked down to F, right? Because we had them in D, so if we're moving everybody one down.
Well, A, B, C, D, E. So Aikido was D, so that would be E.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah. In that case, then, yeah, they'd be not doing well, is the point.
Yeah, exactly. Because we move every single one down. There you go, like that. Okay, perfect. So let's see now. BJJ would be your best bet, right? To for a martial art that's social. If you wanted to like to have a social life, you want to meet friends, you wanted to you're in a new city, for example, or you travel a lot, like BJJ would be numero uno.
Good
and
option.
after that, it would be judo. Then after that, it would be kendo, MMA, right? One of those two. Then boxing, and then aikido would be lap. Yeah. Okay, cool. What about any honorable mentions, like about with the other ones, or?
Well, I don't have, to be honest, I don't have a high opinion of like a lot of the traditional martial arts, specifically because of the way that they compete. I just feel like, I don't know. I had a bad experience. Like I had a lot of fun, but then I felt like I spent all of this work, thinking like, oh, I'm training this stuff, and then just coming out of it thinking like I suck. I don't know. I feel like they're just not the best. They're not great for making friends, for sure, compared to any of these combat sports.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're right about that, because I feel as though they're very cultish.
Yeah, they are, and
cultish. Like my style is the best style, and they're not open-minded.
And even as a kid, like you can make friends in like, let's say Taekwondo or something, but it's not even that great for that. Like it's just okay, because kids make friends naturally. Like if you're just around kids, you kind of make friends. But I didn't even make that many friends in that. Like all my friends were from school and stuff, even when I was in Taekwondo. So I don't know. I have a low opinion of it for the purposes of social stuff. And on top of that, like if you're thinking, oh, what if I were to go somewhere new and I just wanted to make friends? Like, should I try Taekwondo or like Wing Chun or something? I feel like they don't have that fraternal vibe,
Yeah, you're right about that. You're absolutely right about that. There's no like, okay, except for capoeira. I feel
that's a totally different bag of chips.
Yeah. So I think that deserves an honorable mention. We didn't touch on that too much there. Well, we kind of did, but we didn't. But yeah, all those other traditional ones like Wing Chun, Kung Fu, Karate, Taekwondo. Yeah, not like you go to a new country, what do you join a Kung Fu club? Do what? Like.
This is not best for that, and I have a low opinion of it for the most part. But there's great schools out there. But I'm just saying, like in terms of someone that's like, I'm just going to go to a place that says karate. Is it going to be a great community? It's like maybe, probably not, but maybe could be.
Nah.
Yeah. Whereas if someone's like, oh, I don't know. I feel like if someone tells me like, oh, I'm a judoka, I almost feel like I'm an instant kind of mini friend already. Like oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's the way I felt when you reach out to me and you're like, hey, I watch your channel. I'm a judoka. As soon as I read judoka, I'm like, like it.
That's what this rank is all about. Then really, because it's saying like, okay, I'm going to be training this martial art, right? I'm going to be making friends out. Like that's the vibe, right? Is like, it's almost like a mini fraternity,
Yeah, and if you were to say like, oh, I do kung fu, and you'd be like, yeah, I do kung fu too. Yeah, what style? Oh, who's your master? Oh, what's your lineage? It gets a little bit like, whatever. It doesn't have that same feel to it, right? Whereas if you say judo, oh, you do judo, it's like you both kind of light up, And if you do BJJ, it's the same thing. Oh, we both light up. If you say MMA, kind of lights up. Like yes and no. Like it's gonna be more like, are you good or not, kind of thing. Like how many fights do you have? Where do you train? What club? So a little bit, but at least we're in the same sport. Kendo, I think if you say, oh, you do kendo, I do kendo. Oh, we do kendo. Like
oh yeah, that's definitely gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna. And if you box and I box, we're like, okay, so you box, yeah. How long you been doing it? Yeah, I've been doing it. Oh yeah, how many fights you have? So it would be kind of that vibe, but at least we both box, so we could kind of talk about it, and we could talk about boxing matches and even MMA. You could talk about MMA match. Oh yeah, do you, so who do you think is the best fighter in this weight class division? Which organization do you like more? Do you like UFC? Do you like ONE FC? Do you like Bellator? Whatever. You know, at least we could have like conversations and regarding that, right? Boxing too, we could talk about like fights that are coming up or fights that happened in the past, and you know, stuff like that. Aikido, I don't know. I don't like. We both don't have any experience in this, but I feel it's a little bit too woo woo, you know, a little bit too.
But they do have a bond through that, because I think there's a lot of philosophy to Aikido. You know, it's almost like being the same religion or something.
Yeah, maybe like Aikido is kind of like maybe yoga. You know, like people who are into like spirituality and meditation and all that. They're like, oh yeah, me too. I meditate. Yeah, me too. And then
like yoga for dudes who like anime or something.
There you go, guys. So, you know, I wonder what people are going to think about this. I can't wait to see. Well, people are going to have opinions, and it's going to be interesting to see what they think.
Sure.
Those are our recommendations. So BJJ, judo, then after that MMA, kendo. I know kendo might be a big surprise to you guys, but you know, whacking people with a stick is actually very conducive to community and friendship. And boxing afterwards, right? Not as much, and then aikido. So yeah, if you guys are, I think that if you're lonely, you want to make friends, you know, or you move to a new place, you don't have friends yet, like you should definitely consider like the list of martial arts that we talked about. Obviously, if it's available, but we kind of touched on that. That was actually one of the criterias. So me personally, like all my friends are from martial arts at this point in my life since the age of 30. All of my friends that I have now that I've accumulated and that I'm still making some new ones, you know, there's new ones in the works as well. They all come from martial arts. So, and if they weren't, and I had this one friend who wasn't in martial arts, but he's done some before, and I kind of pulled him back into it. You know, that's where my circle is, and I find that you meet all sorts of people in martial arts. So it's like a good way to network as well, because you got all the social classes are just like crushed together. You know, so you have guys, you have students, you have you know, like people who work in this industry, in that industry, and you know, you got like all sorts of people, right? So it's a really good place to network. You got rich guys, medium class, students, whatever, you know. So I find that it's martial arts is really fun for that, and it's just kind of cool. It's like to meet people who practice martial arts, because you kind of feel like they have a certain level of discipline and character about them if they're already doing martial arts. So that's my take on it, and that's what I always recommend. And I remember saying this. I'm not just saying this because we're here talking about this now, but I remember like, oh yeah, if you don't have, I've always thought to myself like, oh, if I ever go somewhere and I want to make friends, gym. Not like a gym, weightlifting gym, but you know, dojo, you know, martial arts right away. It'd be BJJ, MMA, judo, whatever, you know, anything where there's competition. You know, I would go there and I would make friends. It wouldn't be long. Like after a week, I'd be having a beer with the boys.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And that's exactly why I wanted to make this video, because I think that it's a very underrated and not that well-known way of networking, especially these days where you got a lot of people working remotely and traveling who are they're lonely. You know, people people are like forgetting how to make friends. Yeah, I think, you know.
Yeah, and you know, the fastest way, like that's why BJJ is at the top there, because if you travel and then you practice BJJ, you can just show up to any BJJ gym and done. You know, like you'll be hugging each other in no time. and then that's how you make friends, man. Like that's a easy way to make friends, you know, because then, well, you know, like you're that close. Obviously, you're gonna talk at least, or you know. So yeah. All right, awesome, man. So we've been going on for like about 2.5 hours now. So let's end it here. and we'll stay back and talk a little bit, like me and you, if you have a second. And yeah, so it was good, man. Oh, guys, by the way, Christian is gonna start his own channel, and we mentioned it at the beginning, but that's still in the works, right?
Yeah.
Plans?
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So you guys be on the lookout for that. It's called Digital Nomad Dev.
Correct.
So it's gonna be for guys who want to travel the world and work remotely. Exactly. Like, is that it?
Yeah, exactly. Or people who are already doing that and just feel like they don't really have the hang of it yet. You know, stuff like this. Like maybe you're a developer, you get a remote job, and you're like, how do I make friends? You know, how do I live affordably? How do I like learn a language? Stuff like that. That's part of that lifestyle.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it, man. Like, I can't wait because I know there's room for you. There's on YouTube for this type of stuff, and there's already some people doing it. So I'm excited to see like what's how you're gonna go about it.
Yeah, wish me luck. Really.
Yeah. Like the first dude that I think I'm the first dude that you talked to, like on YouTube.
Mhm.
Yeah, awesome, man. All right, guys. That's it for tonight. Let me end this.